A couple hours left in the week here as we get into Friday afternoon. We are trying to bounce here for the overall market, but what a day it's been. Big time selling coming in right out of the gate this morning. To the downside we go. And yeah, it's been all about tech, specifically semiconductors. We just saw that monstrous break for NVIDIA. It was 6+% at the lows there. The entire group, though, downside in a pretty big way, 3.7 for AMD. QCOM, 1.6% to the downside. Intel faring no better, 1%. Even Broadcom down 2.4, but tech itself leading the way here. Netflix ugly, 8.5% to the downside. We'll touch on that coming up. Meta in pretty red territory as well. If you take away Google, Microsoft, and Apple, those three essentially doing most of the damage here. We are seeing, it's worth noting, significant offset here. This market move overall would be a lot worse without some of these moves in banks. 3.5% for BAC, 3% for WFC, 1.8% for JP Morgan. There's American Express. They reported before the bell this morning. Not a bad report. We'll touch on that coming out. Amazon 2% as well. So pretty mixed board. There is a decent amount of grain for some of the areas of the overall market. 0.6 right now for the S&P in negative territory. It is, as I mentioned here. NVIDIA specifically, there's 6.3% right now. Just made another day low, bouncing off 795. Huge, huge, huge volume alert through 800 there. A lot of stops getting run and taken out, obviously. Let's jump into a few things we were touching on this morning. If you're with us in the pre-market, we let it off with Netflix this morning. My chart seems to be frozen. The overall earnings report for Netflix, not bad. It was the forecast they came out with that was a bit questionable. They were talking about spending going forward and whether or not they'll be able to keep up the current rate. The overall net subscriber add, pretty impressive for Netflix. It was the biggest quarter since 2020, which was decently impressive. But outside of that bounce into 580 this morning, guys, not much to do here so far with Netflix.
I guess you could have shorted it, but I mean, hindsight's 2020.
Nah, you don't want to short today.
No. You could have shorted the pop in Netflix, I suppose, but it was no level to work off of. And we sort of said this was not necessarily a thing I would have traded, but if it had been strong, I had a plan for Disney maybe. At the end of the day, Netflix was one of these stocks that was ramping off those tops, and it was resting at the 50 period moving average at $600. I took it out. You're probably headed into some kind of a trend down. It bounced off 550 support. Like that's a good sign. If it settles down and can hold this line at 550 next week, I think that would be good. I was kind of hoping Disney would hold up, but I mean, I don't know. Like, I want to talk about these, but it's like, what are you going to do? Right before we came on, anybody that was paying remote attention to the markets probably saw what happened on NVIDIA just now, which, I mean, there was actually a bounce happening. A couple of things got into VWAP in there, and then NVIDIA did this through $800, absolutely flushing. Like, I got over and went into Micron short because I was already in it, but this is like insanity for NVIDIA. And it all started, yeah, it's not even on there. It all started with SMCI. Like, the rundown is going to talk about the things that were on like the watch list and stuff this morning, but it all started pre-market when SMCI did not provide an update with their, we're releasing earnings on 30, but there was no update. And now we're headed down.
I mean, we talked about today, let's be as patient as we possibly can with these trades. AMC Monkey, what's up, my guy? There's a firm. Look what just happened to a firm. I was, the Egyptian nightmare over there will know that I was pounding the table with the firm trades here at VWAP, then we got this right there, and then it goes like this, downside right now for a firm. I mean, the thing about AMD is Netflix, that's right, we're supposed to be talking about Netflix. Hey, the one thing about AMD is we just got some covered right there at 148 like an hour ago. Did not pay attention to that. But Brendan and Sharif, yes. Guess NVIDIA. Don't look.
783.
Oh, come on. You know it's not. Okay. It just broke it.
All right, 790. I thought 790 was pretty violent, but Sharif's expecting more violence.
783.
But look at this break. Unfortunately, I was getting a T, getting locked and loaded here for the end of the day. I wasn't going to take I actually mentioned to Sharif, the 800 break is worth taking. But again, when I sat back down, it was 795. I was like, what? But that 800 break was about as clean as whatever. It never, ever, ever, ever went against you. So, my goodness, Sharif, what did you say? 783? Well, guess what? That was a bad guess. No, it wasn't even a bad guess.
He tells the future.
You know, yeah, like, okay, so 3 minutes ago it was 792. Now it's almost 783. So NVIDIA is having itself a day. Right now we're back on IBIT. We're short crypto. We're short Tesla on the reload. And today, again, although it's a Friday, today is a good day for the shorts.
Why is the Friday? Friday's always good.
Some days is good, yeah. Some days
yeah, most.
I'm always happy. I'm always happy every day, but today's better.
All right, let's touch on some Tesla action here, down 1% on the day, but what a recovery it was. Out of the gate this morning, if you missed it, there was a note on the Cybertruck, 3,800 of them. The carpet doesn't work.
That's funny. I don't know how the carpet wouldn't work, Brendo. But yeah, no, seriously though, guys, the accelerator pedal is getting stuck. There is a pad on it that's getting dislodged under, and it keeps going. Elon says they're going to fix all of them. Obviously, we've seen the regulatory bodies in the past really come hard on Tesla when it comes to recalls. Nothing from them that I've heard today.
Like, would you not just, there's take a pair of scissors and just...
Yeah, I think it should be an easy fix, but you never know.
Truck.
Yeah.
Pair of scissors?
Pair of scissors.
What is it? What is this? Boeing's?
What are we talking about here? You saw what happened to Boeing when they were using dish soap and a credit card?
Attention, Boeing. How do we fix our problems? You see that twine over there?
What are we even talking about? So here's the frustrating thing for me about Tesla is it's sadly my #1 stock, but I had a really bad trail out. And it's like a really bad trail out. I got up and I put a trail on this thing. It was flushing through VWAP on a reload. At least that's what it looked like was happening. I'm like, okay, I wanted to get up and you can go to the bathroom, that kind of stuff, right? It is what it is. So I put a trailing stop, like 70 cents higher. I'm like, well, it'll be fine.
It'll be all right.
No, I came back and it's like it was back down. I could have shorted it again at VWAP, but I didn't. And then I was getting myself ready for like the less than a day and that stuff. And I missed probably a golden opportunity to get back in. So the first short's like the best for me, and then I missed it. I know you're still in it, which is great because it's bad for Tesla. But yeah, I don't like that I reloaded it and didn't hold Tesla. We keep talking about penalty box, this and that. It's just another negative story here. It's not as bad as Boeing in terms of negative stories, but when there's pressure on the entire group, what can you even say? It did not hold the 150. We're holding underneath. It's a Friday, so the fact that it's not running completely away from 150 bucks, I suppose, is not the end of the world. But if we break this 148, which is kind of a triple bottom down here, I don't see why you couldn't look even further. I think this is a VWAP type play this afternoon on Tesla. And Rivian oddly just didn't give any trades today. That was a weird one. I thought there'd be more.
I'm close to going in and buying this NVIDIA dip. But here we go. We had our walk, talk, and stock. I think this is this dude's best look ever. Now I know now he's a little skinny mini, but I think this is good. I didn't even know he looked like this at one point, but there it is.
I think I remember that. Actually.
Yeah, nice little move right there. But no, the reason why I went over here to this was because if I go to profile right here, check your notifications, my guy. Right here, we have our #1 trade today. So we don't feel anyways about what we did to Tesla today. We went short. We were short all day. It is your and my #1 trade here, P&L wise. Here's IBIT. Let's get to the downside if we can. That'd be nice. But Tesla, every single purple thing on here is a short. So when we're discussing it and it's near the low of the day, you know that it's just been one of these things. So we're doing a little bit of that here today on Tesla. It's been a good one. We just reshorted it. Sharif asked me about this on the show. I wasn't super confident about it because we were up into this area. So we were sort of looking at 150. We did take a starter position. So we took out half. Now we'll wait. We still actually held this all the way down here as well. So realistically, we still had a piece of this and a piece of this, but we talked about how it accounts for us. So nice move down. We just touched 148. That was $1. That was like $1.50 right there on that reload. So We're doing pretty good now, man. We're $1 in. We're 50 cents in on a firm. We're now 15 cents in on IBIT, but I'll talk about that, and then we have Tesla. So yeah, man, just an interesting day here. A lot of fun over on Trader TV Live. I hope you guys are enjoying it and able to take advantage of some of these trades here today. Tesla for me all day, every month, pretty much or all month has been a short. So I wish for the best for Elon and company, but for right now, there is no positive catalyst. So we're just going to run the gauntlet short here today.
All right, crypto to the upside. I want to show this real quick first. The dollar actually just took out the highs, a little bit of a pullback right now, but dollar trying to rip here this afternoon into the weekend potentially. So yields are moving up along with that as well. There's Bitcoin, a bit of a bounce initially, but we are back down through, or it is holding 64.4 right now. That was a bit of a sticking point if you go back on the daily chart a little bit, but pullback nevertheless after that nice move up.
Yeah, what a V-shaped retracement after it broke 60,000 here, Brendo. Some of the big heavyweights today, Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan chiming in, trying to warn their clients not to expect the same kind of price action from Bitcoin this time around after the halving event as they had previously. They're saying, it's a different macroeconomic condition. There are the financial environment at the time was more stable. There are way more geopolitical factors. The interest rates are elevated. So, that they said, and then it ended up bouncing up $5,000. I just want to mention to Neil quickly here that low of day on NVIDIA is 783.
Yeah, Neil.
Why is it? We both reacted the same way.
I was thinking the same thing as Sharif.
It's hilarious. I know, it's...
Come on, Neil.
It's all in good fun. Sharif and I go back and forth with this. I mean, what are you going to do if he's an Arsenal Cowboy fan? And it is 783.33. So if for absolutely no reason you just bid 783 and hit enter, congratulations to you. Everything would have worked out. It's an interesting coincidence, and let's just leave it at that. I'll let you. I'm gonna after you talk about crypto, I'm gonna work in CGC because I can't think of another place to do it. But yeah, it was a great random accidental call that it was already at 783.
Yeah, I said to Neil, I'm going to load up my account and buy some NVIDIA, and that was down there in and around that 785. But I mean, we sold some Google today and some Meta, so I don't think it's right yet to go hopping right in and start to buy some of these dips. But NVIDIA down 7 with tons of volume right now is very, very interesting. Okay, as far as crypto bouncing and IBIT and all this fancy stuff, yeah, we lost on IBIT all the way up until eventually we got to 37, which apparently is in and around 65,000 somewhere. So we were short early on this move down. We got hit there when it came back up to the 50 period. So that was pretty bad. Like we didn't wind up losing that much because we're not using that many shares. Then some shorts start. Then we shorted again. That lost, but that was at that point. I think that was probably the 200 period. That was a quick loss. So then we're going to go 0 for 2 on IBIT. Then this trade actually worked out. Then we took a reload, stopped out, short again. So I'll let you guys know we're down right now on IBIT, but it's not that much. We did get pretty lucky that this fell back down because, again, I know when I start trading on tilt, and this was on tilt. So, I mean, going short here, just trying to find the areas. Finally, we get one up there on IBIT, and we just use that as our last straw. Thankfully, we put on our bigger position because, again, I was frustrated, which I know is not the right way to do it.
But that's a 65,000 fail, isn't it?
That's what I'm saying. So, I mean,
because
it's just looking at the stock. I'm going to put one.
No, but that top effectively should be 65,000.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Yeah. I didn't actually look at Bitcoin. I was just thinking if I look down here, it's 64.
I'm pretty sure that's exactly what it is.
65. So I've actually changed my whole thing about IBIT. I mean, I'm still trading IBIT, but I'm not looking at Bitcoin because it's looking at the same thing. So
I know.
No, but to what you're saying, though.
The only thing I care is the level.
Probably 65. Yeah.
But you're right. You trade the price action. I just like the big round levels, and I'm like, the reason I'm pointing it out is because I had an intention to trade a retracement off of one of the big individual levels, and then didn't even do it because 65,000 was just not like it was just barcoding at that level for so long that I didn't think there'd be a false breakout, but it looks like there might have been. So I'm going to pivot to. Because
are we going back to ARM?
Well, we'll go to ARM next, but
I'm on a bit of a firm right now, by the way.
So, anyways, not that we actually have a thing about weed or these.
We have the weed Batman.
I know, but it's 420 tomorrow.
Oh, right.
And if you're looking for things that were trending up, obviously DJT at one point was. So this is a 15-minute, and I'll show you why I'm using my trade ideas chart, because my one chart that's not cooperating is my CGC chart this afternoon for whatever reason. But so for the last couple of days, you had the big break, and then you can sort of see the trend. It did make a break out of the high at 820. This dip right back into 770. Then the higher low here is what I'm working with when it held the $8 level. So I did get this into 822, and I'll show you why I'm doing this, because kind of not having any data, that's before when I got in for some reason. So I got some out in front of 15s, was looking for the 30 high. It did a wick underneath 8, which just got me in at 96. I'm going to give it to 790. Ignore VWAP, obviously, when it's missing data. VWAP's not going to be any good. So I'm in it. If it breaks 790, I'm out of CGC. Pretty strong. One of the only things that's actually trending to the upside that you're going to find today that isn't small cap. Let's go back to the desk for ARM, which was the sell.
Yeah, it was BNP Paribas coming out this morning with a negative note on ARM. Sharif and I were just looking at NVIDIA as well. I mean, so much room on all of these to the downside still to go here. But here comes 91 right now, just about to be tested down here. Day lows for ARM, guys, off this downgrade.
Yeah, guys, I mean, it's a bit of a tough look here. A lot of the articles that I'm reading right now are talking about the higher for longer interest rate environment as being the reason the market is getting a little weary with the chips here. You see SMCI over 20% in the red. You see ARM well over 13% as well. BNP Paribas getting ahead of this and giving the downgrade to nod.
Again here, by the way, but you talk about it. We wrote ARM down, but you had the trade.
Overrated. You know the overrated chant that people do at like sporting events? That's what I feel like everybody has been saying about ARM for a very long time.
Yeah.
And by very long, I mean a few months. But, and the thing about it is, like everybody's been saying it for a while, but like the stock has been saying hold my beer up until a couple of days ago. So there was the missed trade at 120 on the break. And I will forever say that is like one of the bigger fails out there. When a stock that you think is overvalued, flat bottom breaks like that, you want to have it. So today there were several trades at the open. I had a break. It broke 100 before the market opened. So I got some in. I'm like, ooh, that's before the market opened. I basically just took half out instantly. I'm like, I don't want that before the open. It then punched 99.5 and then ran upside. I had an accidental long, which in hindsight, if I hold on to it, goes $1, but it's like didn't want it, got out, lost like 10 cents on the trade, and then shorted it when it got to 103. Scalped some out, then I held to 100 again, and then I got out expecting a bounce off VWAP. At that point, all that happened is it then broke 100, and I shorted underneath 100. Shorted it back in, got trailed out at 98. So at that point, it's like, okay, we've gotten out a couple of times. Maybe it's going to give us a shot at VWAP. It does not. It flushed. I shorted the next available pop, and this is where, if there's one thing that sucked about it, was I got into this trade off of 97. And my first thought was, Neil, you're being impatient. At this time of day, it's midday, you should be waiting for some kind of a sign of a curl. So I put a tight stop on it, got out, and then immediately it looked really weak again, and so I punched in for a little bit. But like not with, there was zero conviction in punching into that trade. It was like, no, I just need to be back into it. So I end up scalping it out because that's what happens when you have a bunch of conviction, and it goes to 91. Like this could have been, I think, a much better trade. And it's not about getting in and out there. Realistically, it's getting back in here, right? Like the best setup. This is how I would evaluate it for myself as well. The best setup for getting back in was right here because it trails out, goes right underneath 100, and then consolidates under. This trade goes right back to the 100 break. You can short it at 99.5 and give it to 100 and change, and that's a better entry. That's the one that would have had some conviction with it. The other thing I'm in right now is Micron. I'm in Micron because it showed me this level underneath 108, and we're short that a couple of times. And then when all hell was breaking loose on on NVIDIA. Was able to get this off the 108 level on Micron. If it busts 107, I'm holding to the low of the day, but all of the chips are having a rough one. It's just that ARM, it can always be better, but I don't even think it's done. I think there's a huge gap to still be filled, and they have to report. All of these chip names still have to report. And the sad thing is, or maybe the good thing, is the worst of them is the first, and that's going to be Intel next week.
Yeah, it's gonna be bad.
That actually might be in some ways, that actually might be a good thing for the chips that Intel, because that means like you're going to start earnings off with a potentially bad. You might have a potentially bad report.
We already had ASML and TSMC. So.
True, yeah.
But here today, guys, look, we wrote it down exactly what we wanted to do, just never did it. Downgrade and looking to test 100. I mean, this is the thing. Can we write it differently than this? If the market actually wants to go down, then this is the one to smash. So there's ARM. We don't have it. Yeah, we're pretty. That's a firm. That was a good trade. But Neil just talked about ARM, so whatever. We wrote down this is the one today. It's down 13%. We wrote this down when it was at 104, 105. The break of 100 was the one to smash. I don't have it. ARM, I will get you, and I will get you again. Next time I'm going to take the trade that I write down. ARM, good friend, good trade today, but I'm a buyer at 80 bucks.
This portion of the show brought to you by our friends at Pandimensional AI. Researching and strategizing in the stock market doesn't have to be difficult. With your personalized AI investing co-pilot from Pandimensional, you can easily discover stocks and effortlessly test and execute your strategy ideas. Get quick, digestible stock market insights with Pandimensional's AI chatbot, and backtest and forward test strategies with Pandimensional's AI simulator, all in a beginner-friendly platform. Try it now for free. Let's wrap up here with Shopify. I was just hearing CRKN was flying around as well. Looks like a penny stock. Anyways, Shopify was up on an upgrade today. I mean, thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's this analyst here, Keith Weiss, for Morgan Stanley, who really likes Shopify, Brendo. He believes that they're well positioned to sustain a 20% compounding annual growth rate. He feels that the firm's expectations are correct, and the commentary pointing to the modest headcount expansion of Shopify is good. You'll recall they overhired during the pandemic, and then they went through a series of aggressive layoffs to get their balance sheet back in order. He likes this to the tune of, I believe, here, 85 bucks.
Yeah, it was a nice start to the day for Shopify. We've given most of that back. This is that CRKN. Just took out the highs there. There was a volume alert.
Kraken.
That
looks like a Fisker chart.
Yeah, we had the only long on our board today is Shopify. This is going to be the loser that we have in our account right now. I try to defend exactly what we wrote down. I like the 70 long there. It worked, then it didn't, then it worked, then it didn't. Then it worked, then it didn't. And at the end of the day, these are all, we had winners, we had winner 3 times, 3 for 3, and then 0 for 3 at the end of the day when it just kept on breaking. This last one was a great take. I was just like, man, how low are we eventually going to go here? And we did wind up breaking 50, and that's where we got out. The low of the day wound up being 69.31. So the long 70, I mean, if we were still in it, it would be wrong, and I don't think we would have cashed out there. But either way, not a good long today for anything. But if there is a name that's been holding up, that's only down 0.49, Shopify. So I feel pretty confident in a long on this name. Would like to see it come back into these lows, and then we'll buy it. But I'm still short. I'm net short everything. I'm short crypto, I'm short Affirm, and I'm short Tesla. Tesla $1.50 in the money, Affirm 50 cents, and then Bitcoin, I don't know, just hanging out. So you know what? I like the Shopify. I'm actually kind of upset that I lost on it, but that's trading, right? We're going to go 4 for 5 or whatever, but we're going to wait to see it 3 for 4, but we're going to wait to see if we can get that back. I still like the Shopify long. Let's just see if the NASDAQ or the market can take out and hold some of these levels before we go long.
I didn't trade Shopify, but I actually think there's something that is a long, well, it has been a long, because Alibaba just broke $69 and is at the high of the day. And remember, if you watched the morning show, like right near the end, we were pointing out that Baba was holding up pretty well. Now, obviously, like right after 11 o'clock, there was this spike and then it reversed when the market was tanking. But Pinduoduo was at the low of the day, and then it held VWAP. I waited for it to get back above VWAP, went long into the high of the day. But if something is at the top when the market's bouncing off the bottoms and you're going to throw in that it has an upward trend, it also went red to green. Baba's a Chinese ADR that I don't mind trading in the afternoon. So I want to look to buy some dips here. VWAP would be great if we can get it in Alibaba. You're just not going to find much that is trend up today. CGC is attempting to do so. And again, maybe my chart will actually be magically better when I pull it up. Not really. Okay, so I just got some out CGC as it bounced off 96 into 808. But that is upward trending. Believe me, you pull up your own chart, it'll look like that. But Alibaba, I think the same thing. And I love the fact that I like it more based on the fact that Pinduoduo is not having a good day. Like I would imagine, a lot of times, sometimes the sector goes the same way. Pinduoduo is down 1%. If anything, I would argue that Alibaba's probably dragging it back into the upside. So Baba gets back to VWAP. I like the long off VWAP.
All right, we're done. News here. It's nothing major, but Elon Musk's just saying that he doesn't want TikTok to be banned. I don't know. Meta's not doing anything. Google's probably not doing anything either. We're in Tesla. Those
that won't matter.
comments like that aren't going to affect Tesla. I would hope not. But we're in it, and Tesla's at the end, near the bottom of the day. There we go, man. PL1 going to continue to do that. We'll just add another $1.50 on that stock. Here goes Tesla back into the downside here. I'm like, it's been such a crazy week, man. Like we'll end the week short. I mean, we're short a firm, 50 cents there. Oh, wow. Yes, sir. All right. The net is starting to get going a little bit here, as that's a good move right there. So we'll go fail on crypto, trying to get up to 65 right now. We'll put some bids a little bit lower, see if we can't get going on this one just a little bit lower than where we are right now. Where will NVIDIA stop? Nobody knows. And today,
783 apparently.
Yeah, there,
Double bottom.
83, yeah, 783 right there. That's been the double bottom, the Sharif double bottom right there at 783. What about a break below that? And then we break through 780. That's something to look at. You could have just reloaded that a couple times at the 50 period. 795. Wow. What an aggressive name that is, man. I mean, AMD
we didn't really look
as
at
well. Again, PL here for me, easily for me, number 2 is AMD. Short, look at this short. And there's the cover there for AMD, but it's breaking lower. Tesla's now $1.50. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. You can see what's happening down there right now. We don't need to raise things up. We don't need to do anything like that. AMD right near 147.70 downside, big time right now. Chips got a drone attack. Yeah, it seems like that is what's happening right now. All the chip names going to the downside. And the thing is like, we missed the trade in ARM, but honestly, it's like what I said, when you're seeing it, you're seeing it. Like we said, this name should have been smashed. We missed it, but I'm glad that it's reacting this way. I mean, that's, we said this is probably, in the last year or so, this has been, in my opinion, by far the best time to trade this whole month. It's been pretty so volatile. Trends have, been holding. Things have made sense to me. Into earnings season, we could get complicated. Because we don't know where things are going to go based on what they do. Like you saw what Netflix was doing today. I don't think we thought that would be down 8 or so %. Apple with a nice climb back here, actually. Potentially looking for a short in Apple now, in and around that 167 down here. That's not horrible. 167. That's 167. No, we're not getting anywhere near there. Oh, it must have been 166. Okay, 166, I guess, into this area. What was I seeing there on the 20-minute? Why did I say 167? Yeah, no, that's not what I meant, because that's this morning. We're not getting back up to there. Yeah, it must be 166. 166.50 is the 50 period, so a little bit of a bump up there. You can give yourselves about a 50-cent sort of leeway there, but we still need to get that going. I mean, look, man, a firm's going to the lows. The low of where we've gotten out. That's been a monster. And then Tesla is still going. Tesla right now is breaking the low of the day. We have it written down today that we wanted to short 152. Do you know what the high on Tesla is today? 151. And look what we have. That's us going short. That's a short tick right there. In 5 minutes, we were short Tesla 151 and out 148. So, here we go, man. We're really starting to go to the low side right now. So everything is working out for us. We've been talking about, being bearish pretty much all week. It's kicking right now. The bears are here. Let's see what happens now in the rest of the day.
Probably more to the downside.
Probably.
That just seems like it's a logical thing. We mentioned that a lot of this started with SMCI this morning. Like, the market was probably going to fall anyways, but in terms of the acceleration, SMCI, the story being they reported that they were going to, their earnings were coming on the 30th, but then there was no early look. And that's what people were expecting. So this is a legitimate volume candle. It went from like, I think it was like $50 on the initial move. And then at the open, like it tried to bounce at 9:30. Like at the open, people were buying this thing to the tune of like $20 on the opening candle. And that was probably a bad idea. It's down at 7:30, and we've been asked a couple of times, like, what's happening to the stock and blah, blah, blah. But that's all it is. They do report, as we said, on the 30th, and $700 feels like almost a foregone conclusion. Maybe it even gets there today. So the only things, like I said, the only things I like long this afternoon, CGC can hold this 8 area. It just got some out for profit. If the market comes down any further, like BABA's trying to dip into VWAP here. It's not really falling all that far, but it's an upward trend, so I really don't mind taking a shot at this. A strong stock, no issues with it. I do still like Micron. If we get an opportunity to pop back in, I'd like to reload this one off 108. Looking for a break at the low of the day. If we do triple bottom here, probably worth taking it out. And the incredible Mr. Lib. ARM, the catalyst for ARM today on the watch list was a downgrade. All of that said, the reason it fell apart is because, you know, when you had the report from ASML, it broke a monster support level. And if you look at the entire chip sector, probably the most reasonable like comp in terms of how their business works, not works, but like the way that they kind of make their money and who they're integrated with, would be to ASML, because ASML, all the advanced chips that go into all of your smartphones, that go into all of your laptops and all that stuff, you have to use their machine in order to make those chips. And it's similar to ARM. Like you have to use their technology in your chips if you want them to be sort of remotely power efficient. So they have like the same, kind of model in terms of how they're going to get affected. So ASML warning destroyed this name, and it's just gotten nasty. Here to the downside. I think this could be a short to pop, but it's gone so far down. I think you want to pick your spots here. So I like the one, like I said, 108 on Micron. We're going to be reloading. If it breaks the low of the day, I'll look to trail. Still prefer a dip buy in CGC or Alibaba, and you know that's pretty much it. I think you got to look for some opportunities to fade. I had my eyes on Alphabet here. It keeps bouncing off. Here, let me show you why 153.5 actually matters. So if you go out to a 15-minute chart, before this flush, Alphabet had this key support level where it wicked off of a 153.5, and underneath that it had a big 152 support. So it broke that, bounced right off the second support level, and is now holding the higher low, which is pretty much where you'd expect it to. On a bear day, however, I feel like if it breaks this bottom, you should see the low of the day, because it just rejected VWAP pretty harshly. Like if it had decided to consolidate then hold VWAP, that looks pretty good for a long. But if it fails at VWAP or breaks this flat bottom, Alphabet kind of looks like it has some room to drop that $1.50. But the NASDAQ's at a triple bottom right now. So like generally speaking, if you're being a patient, playing the patience game, that's not a place where I'm looking to enter shorts. I'd rather enter shorts if it's bouncing back up into resistance. So I might have to wait for VWAP on some things. So we'll hold on to Micron. You hold if it's in the money, but I'm not entering shorts while the NASDAQ's at the bottom.
Oh, man. I still have a crazy headache. Like, I don't know. All right, so it's got some more water. So shout out to Hydration Nation. All right, so here comes NVIDIA. I'm going to take a 780 break. I mean, honestly, we should have taken the 800. We weren't here. Now you're going to, like, you're $20 lower right now. You know, you do have a stock. I mean, I'm not taking a whole ton of shares here, but like maybe $5 worth of a stop. Like, I don't know. I'm not going to hold it all the way back up here. Like I said, we've done really well today. It's been a really good day. Like Affirm, like look where Affirm is. Look where we got it. I mean, that was good. We already talked about AMD. We've got iBit. We just took out a nice piece there. We're only in about 20% of that left. We've got Tesla $2 in the money and at the low of the day. Let's just try to put some entertainment in your life. We'll go and try, and mine too. We'll see if we can get some NVIDIA love. If there's a way we can get up to 790, I think that might be worth something there. At some point, somebody, I mean, I don't know who, but I know she's made a lot of money on NVIDIA in her career. But, you know, at some point, some of these levels might be getting bought up. You're down 8% now, or were about 2 minutes ago. And now, since we mentioned going short at 780, it looks like it just bounced off there. Yeah, what's up, Chill Vibes? Yeah, going short at 840. Yeah, I mean, that would be freaking amazing to still have had that one. And then there it is right there, 840 off the jump. I mean, Chill Vibes. I mean, imagine having AMD at 153. It's at 147. I mean, Tesla right now, imagine having it at 151. It's at 148. I mean, NVIDIA is crazy. Imagine having ARM at 106 or 104. It's at $91 right now.
It just bounced off 90. It was about to break.
You know, I mean, yeah.
When you were looking at that break on NVIDIA, it looked like it was going to be a 90 break on ARM at the exact same moment. They both bounced at the same time.
So.
And SMCI, I mean, if you're keeping track of all of them, you probably are seeing SMCI did, whoops, that's still ARM.
Ew.
So SMCI did actually break its bottom down here. So at a temporary low at ones, it broke 730 even. Like, it's crazy. Like, just to even show you like a $2 move, I have to zoom right into the SMCI chart. So it broke the bottom, got to 728 and recovered. And I think that's probably what got the bounce in some of the chip names there. But at the end of the day, like, I think you can still just try to short some pops. I feel like we've been saying this every single day this afternoon. Short the pops until they stop working. And the chip names at resistance levels. There's been small caps every day that you can try to take some longs in. For the most part, the weed names have been pretty decent. That's why we're in that. And like, that's pretty much it. Matt is saying look at ZCMD. Okay. Actually, do not know this small cap. I mean, it's got good volume, but 28, not 200. Yike. 28 million shares. I see what you're probably going with. You're looking for a break of this barcode. Ugh, that's way down. But if it breaks 2, I suppose. I don't generally like these things when they've given it all up and are threatening flat bottom breaks. Yeah, reverse split special that's on the way back in, that's not a long at all for me. And I don't know, maybe it bounced off like 140 or something like that. And, okay, good. See, like as I said that, I'm like, yeah, it just actually broke the low. And, well, that would have been nice. Even if I had wanted to short this stock, which I didn't, I guarantee you we don't have free locates. I probably have to go in and pay 1/3 of a cent to short it, which would take at least 20, 30 seconds to do. But yeah, I don't like that at all.
I was just watching. We're almost like out of a firm and all that kind of stuff. So it's not like it's super stressful here for me or anything like that. I'm just gonna sit here and watch out for NVIDIA to break the 780. I mean, it just went $5. So that's, or $7. So $5 off the bottom, yeah. So it went to 82s there, retraced up $5 before coming back in. I'm just trying to think about the math. Obviously we take a hit if it breaks and doesn't come back up. But I was thinking about giving it to 785. I mean, you could almost give it to that 786.50. I just think that if it's gonna work, it should almost work instantly. Like when it broke 800 here, it never came back. Like look at all the difficulty here at 805. Even 810, it kind of like, I guess it broke it. It went to 807, then it snapped back to, actually it didn't come up to that much, 811, 812. So, okay. So really the only problem was in and around 805. And then 790, I guess it smoked it down $5. So here we go. Let's see if we can get short NVIDIA. Because we'll do that, we'll put a 785 break long when and if we get short. We might miss the short. I think I'm only crossed down 40 cents or something like that. So, all right, we're getting close. And there it is. And we're not short.
AMD just broke too.
That's hilarious. It just, you didn't get it, did you?
No, ARM broke, but the ARM, there's no volume on the
Josh,
ARM
my
break.
guy back there.
What the hell?
Whatever.
That happened.
There's Josh. Yo, what's up, Josh? Yeah, it went. That went real quick. That went real quick right there. But yeah, all right. That went down $3 immediately. You could get it now though. I mean, this isn't horrible. If you wanted to, I was gonna say you could have had it right there on a move back up. I think it might have just touched 780 there. I canceled because the minute I missed it, I was like, bah humbug.
The last time I did, see, you know what? I agree with that because
we're cashing everywhere else.
The last time I took I missed an NVIDIA break in the same way and it went like $4 or something right away. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I'll just take it on the way back up. And he took it on the way back up, and then that was like the false, like the false broke, and it came right back through. And the way back in, you don't get the scalp of the easy money. but you're exposed to the same break loss. And it's like part of taking that trade is so that you can get that instant win. So I just have Micron there, as AMD also took out a low. 145 could come into play for AMD, by the way. So that could be a little bit of a something. Well, it probably is a something. And then a chip name that we have not talked about recently that has yet to break its next key level to the downside. Marvell's down 6 points, or 4.6 points. But what's more interesting to me is I pulled up a chart like what has recently broken a big low. Marvell just took out a key level at 63. Were it to get through 62, that has some acceleration, I would think, in it. So it's only breaking support on the daily now, whereas a lot of the other things we're looking at did that a while ago. And that's true of a lot of chip names, right? Like Micron broke its support on the daily a while ago. Obviously, ARM did. Obviously, AMD did like weeks ago. And then same thing with NVIDIA. So I'm gonna have the eyes on Marvell here. Just, you want some things that you can pick up that have some catching up to do, for lack of a better term, or they give you some different opportunities, because it's always tricky. Like, are you going to smash NVIDIA down 9% if it goes down another $7? Are you going to smash SMCI down 25%, because it's probably 21 or 22 right now? But something like Marvell might give us a better opportunity to be able to get in. Interestingly enough, CGC is doing nothing, which I suppose is a good thing. What about your Apple? Never mind, too late.
Yeah, we just took another fill right there on IBIT with the NASDAQ heading to the downside right now. That's going to be a good fill. I mean, we just took that. Affirm is, we took another Affirm fill, but it is going lower here as well, trying to break the low of the day. We're almost $3 in this trade as well. So Travolta's just like, yeah, man, I mean, what the heck is going on around here? And then there's the move down for Tesla still going. We're short this one. And we have this. I mean, these are all the positions that we've been talking about all day. And we just, love what we're doing around here, and very, very fortunate to be able to do it. Shopify just turns red there. That was another name that we were looking at earlier. Yeah, make sure you do hit that like and the subscribe as we continue to go down, lower. So, all right, let's just see what happens now with the rest of this. Find another trade. We missed the NVIDIA trade, but it's right back, by the way. It's just how low, Always pullbacks to 50 period are something that we like. So that could be something that we'd want to look at as well right now. So yeah, that's I'm looking at to see if anything's hitting different things. Like
I just got Google through that flat bottom I was showing on Google broke down, so I'm into Google now, or Alphabet, I should say. So look to see if it can make that move into 152.25. There was also something on WISA. WISA? I don't know whatever. WISA's on the move again. This one bouncing back into the high. So bouncing off VWAP. This looks pretty good. Like if you're looking for relative strength, bouncing off VWAP, breaking back out. Bit of a gap. This didn't halt. This is just a gap in the chart. It'll fill back in. So breaking the high of the day. This could be spicy for some kind of a dip buy. Like it broke out $8. If it can bounce in front of 8 or maybe even the 780 level on WISA, like if you're looking for longs today, I just think you probably have to find them in a small cap or a weed name or I don't know, DJT kind of gave up its gains. But you know what I mean? Like you might have to look elsewhere outside of big cap tech. So let's look to see if WISA starts holding kind of a bid. I don't like taking breakouts. I prefer consolidations in the afternoon on these. So if we can find one, I don't mind this.
All right. Yeah, we're going to just have a quick look here. So let's just do this. You guys want to put anything in the chat? It's only 2:43, and honestly, I mean, I'm still looking for more names to get involved with, but I'd really like to find it somewhere else, unless you prefer otherwise. Okay, so that's yeah. I was thinking about something else. So let's go over to Adair, and I'm going to try to find some more trades. But I mean, I feel like a little bit. I don't know, like I don't want to celebrate because I said this morning that I really am concerned about, some of the stuff that could possibly happen over the weekend and stuff like that. So I did sell some stuff in my own portfolio. That's looking to be pretty good. But at the end of the day, I don't know. It's like it's hard to cheer on like when all this nastiness just keeps on happening, and like I don't want to be like, oh my God, I'm short. We're making all this money short, but it is what it is. Let's go over to Adara.
This part of the show is brought to you by IG. You can get as much as 50-to-1 leverage when trading Forex at IG. Currencies like Euro and USD can require as little as 2% margin rates. They also offer $0 commissions trading using a Forex account at IG. And for a limited time, traders can open, fund, and trade with IG for up to $10,000 in funding bonuses. Terms and conditions do apply.
Thank you very much, Adara. That's actually a conversation I had with my dad. No, I remember, I'll never forget like 2000, like the area around 2008.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, like you talk to people, it's like, how's your day going, that kind of thing. And it's like, when all of the worst stuff would happen, that they generally coincided with all of the best stuff for day traders. And like here you have around you, like I hear stories, and not to,
like
this person lost their job, or like this was going bad during the financial crisis. But then as a day trader, you were like, oh my goodness, this was great, and you'd feel weird about it. Like I think you have the halving, which oddly enough, usually Bitcoin is making highs going into the halving. This time you're not. And it's struggling to hold 65,000. That kind of smells wrong in some ways. Again, the chip names have been begging for a pullback. I think right now you're getting it. It is what it is. And then you have geopolitical concerns. Let's just hope there's been obviously the reaction. Let's just hope there isn't another reaction on top of it. We get a quiet weekend. You absolutely never know what could happen. The only new position for me is Google, and I don't even want to reload CGC. If it breaks 790, I think I'll just get out of CGC. At some point, weakness bleeds everywhere. And if we have a day where when was the last time? We've had 1.5 days in the NASDAQ where we're like, yeah, we'll probably see 2% by the end of the day. When was the last time we were already pushing to 2.5% and it's not even power hour? If we make fresh lows, that's when you can see a little bit worse. And it's a Friday. Like all kinds of things can happen.
Yeah, we're really remaining short here, man. Affirm just keeps going lower. Tesla's now 250. And by the way, like missing that NVIDIA trade, it's not like we would have had an $11 winner here or anything like that, but it did give that reload again, and now you're down to almost 9%. You're going to go SSR on NVIDIA in a couple minutes. So just be careful. It's very, very violent. Like I'm not hearing anything in my ear about anything, literally.
There's something about UNH, but then
was there? You know, I probably
UNH was really strong, but it was a while ago. It wasn't. This wasn't imminently. No, UNH was actually. If you look at what's strong today, I think you got Pfizer and Procter and Abbott Labs. I think they reported recently. Early this week, maybe last week, they were having a good day. UNH was flying for most of the day, and then there was some stories about the CEO having to testify. They're going to have a hearing about the data, the cybersecurity thing, and the CEO was going to have to talk, and then all of a sudden UNH dropped like $6. But it's still up 1.5%. So it is what it is. UNH at 450 has been a pretty good solid support level. So I just got some out there, Google 153.20s, as it looks like after that flat bottom-ish break. I wanted to pick some more shares up if we can in here, but the low of the day certainly going to be in play. Jay Walker saying CXAI. I heard Sharif talking about that one today. Haven't looked at that in a while. There we go. I mean, it's at the high of the day, but the volume, as you guys can probably see here, like the volume, it's not just that it's low, but it's really, really dead on volume. You want a stock for this breaking out and testing highs to generally be doing at least solid relative volume to the last hour. That's just not the case there. WISA, that's much, much better. Although, like somebody was kind of messing around in the bid here, right around $8. And when I say messing around, like they were bidding and it looked like they didn't want the shares, like they were spoofing it, and then they got filled. Which usually, I don't like longs when that happens, because I always feel like that person, if they didn't want it or they're a short-term trader, if they cover, you could be down at 750. So I'm backing off of this unless it dips into VWAP.
All right. NVIDIA's getting pretty spicy. I mean, it just bottomed out there at 770. Didn't have a lot of volume on the bottoming out, but you did get that one candle. This is a very, very similar candle to what happened here when we broke down through 790. There's that candle right there on the break, I guess, of 775. If we can zoom back out, I mean, the 20-minute will do nothing because there's no levels here, but I mean, this again is a level. Let me call up Let me see if we can find an anchored VWAP here somewhere. What's Netflix doing? Netflix down 9%, 10%.
9? Oh, that's going SSR
Well, I
too?
feel way better about selling
know what's
a little bit here today. And
SSR makes things interesting on Monday because that means, like, if NVIDIA and Netflix go SSR, that means they're SSR on Monday morning when they open up, and you can't hit the bid to go short. Which, if you're looking for a relief rally, that's actually one of the things you like to see because then it's harder for shorts to get in.
all right. Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, okay. We've already drawn stuff like this before. So there it is, 671, the anchor VWAP from that October low. 671 is right there. 670, and that would make sense all the way down into where this, kind of gap fill here, support level happened. 725, 726. I mean, there's lots of opportunities to get in here. 740, 750. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Tesla's $3 in the money. Let's see Tesla. Do we have any anchored VWAPs? And look at Tesla's daily chart. Oh my. Oh yeah. Wow. There's gonna be no anchored VWAPs down to the downside, or down for support on this one. If we go over to a weekly chart. All right. Nvidia's coming back up here to 780. So wondering about this now as a possible short, because we've come back up. We just wicked that top right into there, into 780. That high is 781. What was that fill right there? 779. Ooh. All right, let's put something up there. I mean, look how aggressive this stock is. So like you could miss by $1 and get really screwed here. The spread is $1 at times here on this name. That is 780.66. I mean, if we are going to do something here, let's just wait for this right now. I'll put this in 780. What did I say? 780.66, right? But is that really? Okay, 780.50. All right, let's just do 780.66. All right, if it breaks above that, then we're going to get out. I'm going to try to short that 779 if it comes back again. So we'll try to short ahead of 780. The price isn't really going to matter. We're at 779.80. I mean, I feel like we just talked about where the spread goes once it starts to open up. Like right there, it was just 70 cents. There, it's 90 cents. So what I'm doing is I'm looking here versus here. So like that's 80s the other way, 80s the other. Now it's like almost $1 when it really comes going through here. Yeah, we are going to need the Mag 7. So that's why today, like, over lunch, we tweeted this out. I don't know if Google's going to, I mean, like I said, we got out somewhere over lunchtime, not here, somewhere in here. So we're probably flat on where we got out. But the end of the day is there's been huge runs up. I didn't get out of everything. There's been huge runs up in the market. We all know about that, and everything could easily collapse. Like, did we just forget what happened? 18 months ago or whatever it is. If I look back, lots of stuff could happen here. So we got out of some Google and we got out of some Meta. And in an attempt to, okay, well, the Meta out's going to be good. In an attempt to eventually buy back some NVIDIA. So this is going to be really, for me, the name that I want to look to buy back. I want to be in the right stocks at the right times. And I do think NVIDIA is that. So, all right, I don't really have too many more ideas right now other than just sort of sit down. We're going to wait for NVIDIA pop-up right now. I was looking at Ford, Boeing.
Nothing wrong with that.
Talk earnings for
Well, I got
next week.
trailed out of Micron here, but I'm going to try and get back in on the pop. I actually think Ford looks nasty on a daily. I'm going to get to that in a second, but just a quick update. I did get trailed out of Micron. It came back up through 106, so I got back out, looking for a short back into 7s if we can get it. But if we just start rolling back over, I think it can always get nastier. Marvell didn't break that 62. And I was saying, yeah, Marvell had a key level of 63 that broke, and on the daily chart, that's a big one. Well, 62 is right here. So whether it's a pop into Micron higher or just simply shorting a break on Marvell, I do like both of those. But on the Ford note, like Ford, I'm glad I got out of Ford. That's the first thing I'll say. But Ford, this is yet another. How many stocks look like this that just gave up the moving average and then are consolidating at a key price level and are just setting you up for a flat bottom break? The only difference with Ford is when it goes, it's not like it's going to, unless they report, they're not really dropping like 10, 15% in a day, but it doesn't mean that there's not going to be an opportunity. Just barcode, barcode, barcode. Eventually, some pain is likely to happen. And Ford, not looking too healthy. GM's actually got a much better looking chart. They've been doing a heck of a lot better lately. Not that I think Not that I think there's a huge difference between the two, but certainly if you're looking at the charts of both, not even remotely the same. So I'm just going to get my stop order in. If Marvell breaks, hopefully we'll get it. When you fire an order, you know, like Sean already showed you on NVIDIA, you can cross whatever you cross. On a stock like Marvell, you might only cross 25 cents because it's $62 stock. NVIDIA, you could cross $1 and apparently miss.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like that's Marvell. If you cross $1 on Marvell, you're getting on every single share that you ask for. But there's always a price. You get a feel for it by looking at the spread, like how the stock generally moves. But every now and then, it just completely surprises you on a break, and you don't get a thing. That's happened to me before.
All right, we, you know, our stop on Tesla was pretty tight when we took this 149.50 area. It was about to 150, I would say, most likely, on that one. Whenever I take a trade like that, that's generally what I'll do, which is why we took 50 cents the very first piece. So generally, we'll try to go 1-to-1. So right now, the fact that we're holding this decent winner is pretty good. But at the same time, we just wicked to that high on some spikes. There is a possibility for a turnaround here into the close, right? Often, when we try to guess what's going to happen in the market, especially when you're talking about geopolitical, we often have it the wrong way. We've talked about that. You know, the market bumping up off Ukraine or doing this off of some of that serious stuff. Or we talked about that extreme example of JFK earlier. Yeah. All right, so 147.75. I'm just going to use the 50 period. I mean, honestly, we haven't breached it. If we do that at some point, I have to respect some of the lines at least that I've written down on here. So the only stop that we have in right now is for NVIDIA in case that comes back up and fills us. So let's just do this right now. 147. It was 75. Was that what it was? Yeah, 147.75. So that's pretty good. So we're down with that. 147.76. That would put us in a $2 winner if we get out of that. So we'll put the stop order in there. Be a little conservative with it. I mean, obviously, we don't want it to go all the way back up to the top side there. Not that it will, but Tesla's only down 2 or 1.8, and the market's down 2.2. We haven't had a S&P 500 minus 2% day in years, apparently, and that's not going to happen today, I don't think, unless this really, really gets going, which I do not want that to happen. A firm downside. So what else you guys want to do? SMCI. Let's have a quick look at that one. And we could also look at Netflix, but I rarely trade names. I will trade. So if you guys are looking for like Mag 7 trades and all that kind of stuff, I'll trade those names on earnings for sure. SMCI down to 720. Yeah, it's only down 21%. So here goes SMCI. And of course, we talk a little bit about that, like jokingly, but not really. This sucks. But again, as an investor, I'm not, but if you guys are, you have to look to see, like, you know, when it goes like this and a little parabolic, you can expect moves like this back down. So there goes SMCI right now down into 700 again today.
Yikes.
Yeah, man, the sky really is falling.
Apparently it's been, I don't know why Copilot didn't give me an exact answer. It said, hasn't experienced a daily drop of 2% or more in nearly 6 months. I don't know why it doesn't just tell me when.
It's more than that.
But then it tells me this. This is Copilot. The last time the large cap index fell by exactly 2% was February 21st, 2023. That's not what I asked. That's a cool fact. Don't get me wrong. Exactly 2%? Okay, like on the nose. But I didn't even ask that. So I'm slapping the fail on you, Copilot. No, I mean, usually that's pretty good. I should have it doesn't really matter. But it's been a while. It's been a hot minute. The NASDAQ does, but the S&P is not going to move as much as the NASDAQ most of the time. You get that volatility out of the tech names. We've seen that time and time again. So Marvell, nothing happening. A little bit of a bounce there happening in NVIDIA and SMCI, but I'd say it's actually pretty muted. You know what? I mean, Meta here at the lows, actually more Apple. Let's have a look at something which, has a crazy wick on it, but is close into VWAP here, and Apple. Like VWAP, and it's going to be tough to see, but it's like 165.25. If we get like an inside, and we've seen this before, if you get one of those inside, let's not go crazy until 3:30 type of afternoons, then something which will give you a good scalp range, which a lot of times Apple will do, I kind of like. So this can get like another 20, 30 cents into VWAP, which is at the quarters, effectively. I don't mind that style of a trade where you don't necessarily expect it to move $1, but you do think you can risk 10 cents to make 20 to 25 and maybe do it a couple times. So if we get some strength into VWAP, Apple I think could be worth a look.
I'm trying to ask.
See who you asking?
Perplexity.
Oh, perplexity.
When was the last time the S&P 500 moved down 2% or more from the previous day's close?
Put them under pressure.
No, but see, this says March 26th, and that was only like March. That was like a month ago. That's not true.
No, we didn't do it a month ago.
Last 5
Did we?
days, I don't know. I mean, someone will be able to find it
Chill
out.
vibe
I'm not going to
thing,
do this.
no.
I have to.
No, it doesn't.
I literally have positions on.
It's not
right
a big
now.
deal.
Okay, so we are 70 cents in the money right now on Affirm. We are well in the money on Tesla as we continue to go down. Someone in the chat will be able to tell us on that one. 3 p.m. is exactly power hour, and it's time to get powered up with a Darren.
As we get started into the power hour, we're going to do a little quick macro minutes, talk about what we've done today and this week with regards to the macroeconomic elements. Right now, despite these massive moves that we've had in the market, especially this move down in the NASDAQ, pretty much flat here on the DXY. We didn't have a lot of economic data today at all, but we did have Fed's Goolsbee, who's a non-voting member of the Fed, making a bit more hawkish remarks, saying that there could be a possibility of a rate hike coming up here, saying that they need to see data moving in the right direction. So kind of same kind of comments from the Fed, but especially worth noting as we do have in less than 2 weeks, May 1st, we're going to be getting the May meeting of the Fed. So Fed decision there coming in less than 2 weeks, absolutely something worth keeping an eye on. Also worth noting as well, we have PCE, which is the Fed's preferred inflation gauge, coming on Friday, next Friday, so a week from today. Lots of economic data to keep an eye on, especially as we head into the Fed meeting and with all of the geopolitical tensions currently in this market, guys.
All right. We got to find some.
Thanks, Theradera. Marvell, almost broken, not yet. All right, the longer I stare at it, the less likely it's going to break the level. That's generally speaking how it works. It's so close, so close, so close. Well, we talked about Apple just now, already in Alphabet. Amazon is breaking the low of the day. Like, yuck, it gets even uglier, 3% down. This is like Meta's at the lows, Apple you see isn't, Google isn't yet. I haven't checked Microsoft, but there are some of these. It's not just the chips, man. It's getting really nasty on Amazon, and this is one that, just like every other chart, I said there'd be a lot of these, just lost the 50-period moving average. Right? Like you've been sliding off of this, or bouncing off of this is a better term, the entire year, starting in January, and you just lost it today. Like you don't have to be a charted market technician to see a bit of a trend reversal if we're closing beneath that. Never a good sign. As a matter of fact, when Danielle Shea was on, that's exactly what she was saying about a couple of names. Don't like it. I asked her about Microsoft, and that was the reason she gave that she didn't like Microsoft, these levels. It just lost the 50-period moving average. You had add Amazon to the list today, out of the strong ones. Add Meta to the list today, as that lost the 50-period as well. It's getting nasty. But Google, though, $6 still away from its 50-period moving average. Another 3 points to go.
Google, okay.
I think it gets there. What are the odds that every other Mag 7 name pulls back into their 50-period moving average with the exception of Google? I'm sure somebody could backtest that, but I don't know.
Yeah, I would have to.
It feels unlikely to me.
I ain't gonna lie, I'm getting very scared. Yeah, shout out to Sam there in the chat. I already done get it. I've already done got scared. I mean, I've been scared for a minute here. We've been putting shorts on in this market to the point where people don't even think I have any long buttons anymore. But I do, because the long that we had today was Shopify, and that didn't work. Everything else has been a short, man. Every other trade. We've never put any longs on today. We put one on. Well, one idea was Shopify. It was all in the same thing, and this hour was pretty much disaster hour. I mean, maybe we haven't looked at Intel enough, maybe. I don't know. Only down one in a bit. I almost think I want to go long. So tell me in the chat here, what do you guys think will be a long? Because I do want to try to get something long.
Low of the day.
If you can.
I liked BABA, but that's not even... Wow, that won't even pull back. Bob was just making fresh highs. Just update, Google took out the local high, did reload it, and just got out. So we took the initial fill when it broke down off of this support level, which ended up being it was like 153.70. It took it out. I zoomed out for the 15 minutes so you could see why that level mattered. Took that breakdown. It bounced off the quarters, and then we reloaded it in here off that local high, but it just took it out. I think VWAP would make some sense if we're being patient about it. I either wanted weakness at the level, or we'll wait into VWAP Just saw like some small cap that, I don't know, it's not really doing anything on the news, VKTX. But I think you got to be patient with it. I wanted Alibaba for longs. Probably should have just held the one that we had. I'm going to cancel VWAP because I think it's irrelevant at this point. If Baba, it's 3 o'clock. If Baba drops back into VWAP in the time it takes to get there, I probably don't want the bounce trade. If you're looking for the long now, I think you got to look for it off 69 even.
All right, here we go. Tesla, IBIT, Affirm, everything's going. There is no slowing this down. I feel like every single time I look at this, we should probably be doing something with NVIDIA. So it's going to go SSR, man, and it's breaking the low right now again. It's going to look bad because I know I'm going to go short and I'm going to have a tick out here and I'm going to wind up losing on it. You should never go into a stock or a trade where you're thinking negatively about it. But at the same time, there might be something there. Brendan's trying to get your attention in the group chat if you had it. But here we go. NVIDIA coming back into the downside. Here, we'll see what happens. Uber maybe moving around UBER. Let's have a quick look to see if anything's going on there. $69. I'm trying to find some longs. Is there anything that you guys might be looking at? SMH potentially on a long. 199. Wow, 199. SMH. Okay, this could be something here. Wow, down 5%. We were just looking at this, man. I remember just a couple days ago, 230, 226, 225, 220, everything was well into play, and now we're just going down, 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 down. 195, 196, everything trying to hit right now for the downside push. Let's just see what happens here if we could take down. Wow, okay. This is a good one. I'm trying to find longs, and then look what just happens to the market. We literally crack all the way through, so we'll be able to figure it out, and then that's what's going on right now. So let's just see what does happen on this if we do break lower on SMH. So, wow. Yeah, the short is not right. We just talked about, the long. We just talked about NVIDIA as well, trying to get to the downside here, and it just broke that level of 765. I guess we just got a short 760, right? Is it going to be AMD? Is it going to be Intel?
Just messaging my wife. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, that's good. Neil's going to see if he's allowed to do the recap show.
No. I just got to let her know what's up.
Yeah. I said honestly, guys, I'm exhausted. So I'm going to pass it off to Neil. Hopefully Brendan will join him as well. And then you guys could have a great market recap show. I'm losing my voice here. I'm going to go home. There
See, this is what happens with breaks of the low of the day. How many times have I said breakouts of highs and lows aren't always like the best method of entry in the afternoon? They're great early because when you lose, you're like, yeah, but it had all day to go in my favor, right? Like it breaks down and then just that was it. Like any of the levels earlier on NVIDIA or any other chip name. But then Marvell, still on Micron here, but then Marvell, it breaks that 62 level. And it could just be, yeah, it's going to do the immediate reverse. I got to give it some space, but I don't want to give it forever. Like, you want those things to fail, I think, right away. Like, it's even showed me the quarters here instantly. So I might just, I'm just going to give it to the quarters. And again, the time of day matters so much for that trade because, like, this morning, like, let's just say, for example, if we're going to do a teaching moment here, let's say you're shorting this break of a flat bottom at, like, 64.50. Like, you short that one, you should be willing to give it back up into here, like that's 65, it's 75 pennies. But that's 10 o'clock. I mean, Marvell has the rest of the day to fall however more it's going to go. Shorting it here and giving it 75 cents, that's halfway to VWAP. Like, do I really think it's going to drop? I mean, it could, but do you really think it's going to drop another $2 or $1.50 to justify that? I don't know that that's true, so. We take the break. I said I wanted the 62 break, and we'll take the L on it, so we'll drop the fail on it. But at the end of the day, I'll come back in on Monday, and if I still see this stock testing underneath that support, I probably want the short into the 200 period. I'm going to want it when it breaks 60, I think, on the 200 period, and I'm just double checking when they report because I know Marvell usually is very late in the cycle. They're not next week. I know that for sure. Yeah, they don't even report till the end of next month. So, like there's some people that are probably going to start to see. You get the chip names reporting, back to back to back, and as they start coming out, when you got to wait all the way to the end of May for Marvell's numbers, some people probably aren't going to wait around if it starts taking out the 200 period moving average. That's the kind of thing that'll spook people. Because if it gets dragged down into the 45, 46, do they even have to beat at that point? Who knows? I heard something on Uber, but I missed it.
It's just, yeah, it's nothing. It's just Uber and Tesla are working to try to get the Uber app into the Tesla CarPlay.
How about they just go up, Uber?
Or whatever
That'd
it is.
be nice.
I'm surprised that's not even there already, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that would seem like a no-brainer.
You would think so, yeah. All right, hold on a second. I just got an email from Fisker that says save $31,000 on a Fisker Ocean. So I'm going to try to see how much.
Buy one.
How much.
Have you seen, by the way,
here it is. Look at
Fisker
this.
did pull back today with everything else.
Oh, okay. So here's the Fisker Ocean Supreme. Was 80, look at this, Ramin, was $80,000. Now $49,000. Was $80,000. Now 40. Oh, I want to buy this one. I want to buy the ones that aren't on sale, actually. Yeah, 90,000 for that. Oh, there it is. So Fisker, why is it just the extremes? I got to find out what's going on with these extreme cars right here. The Ocean One is not on sale, apparently, but the extremes are. Get it while it's hot. Get your Fisker Oceans now 31% off.
Yeah, I don't know.
Don't try to get them serviced. I mean, I don't know where that's going to happen. We can get Randy back on the show. All right, 3090.
Market then.
Yeah, on this break, 3090. We're going to get out of a firm if it breaks 3090 right there. Tesla's doing its own thing. We are going to get out if it breaks. Let's just get out if it breaks 50. Is that top wick? Yeah, 55, 56. So it's kind of like a trailing order. Our last stop was 147.75. So we can go 147.56 there. Just let's go 58. Push enter and get out of that one. I mean, we just put this one on here right there. Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Okay, yeah. So, okay, that's nice. So I have... okay, yeah, I definitely can't do the recap show. I just found out we have swimming and golf tonight. So, yeah.
Who's in golf?
Baron, yeah.
Oh, nice, nice.
So, yeah. And again, we don't normally have recap shows, so you guys are going to have to do this tonight on a Friday. It should be a lot of fun. So, yeah, join whoever's doing it tonight. We will. Stay tuned. We will have a recap.
Oh, it's all good. Don't worry about it. We'll do Q&A. We'll do all that good stuff.
Oh, thank
We'll
God.
have some fun with it. No, my wife's cool. We're actually, believe it or not, can't make this up. We usually do movie night. But my daughter wants to do like game night or something, which is a little bit different. Because when you do movie night, there's like the pressure to, you got to be able to eat dinner, then you got to watch the movie and not ever go to bed at a ridiculous time. Otherwise, you do it once, and then all of a sudden she's going to bed late every single day, which anytime you set, it's like an hour later than that, just because that's how it rolls. So we try to keep reasonable, but game night should be no problem. So we'll have some fun with it. SMCI, Curtis, did you go long SMCI? Because, yeah, if you're saying bam, $10 winner, congratulations. That's a bold move there, Cotton.
Kablam.
But there you go, SMCI bouncing off of 715. As I said,
Be going long here.
think about how you have to, like, how much do I have to zoom in so a $10 move actually looks like the stock went anywhere? Like, that looks like it went 10 cents. Like, that's what's so wild about SMCI, but there's got to be some longs in there somewhere. We're saying Apple had some strength.
Apple was strong. I was debating going long on some Apple.
Maybe that should be a break view op. The Alibaba, it's now really not moving. The problem with the Chinese ADRs, I know it's trending to the upside, but as you get closer to the close, the volume on them is pretty poor because obviously, they've been closed for a while in Asia. They don't get the same juice that you do in the last hour of the day. You're better off with something where there's interest in the closing action, just a little bit more on the Mag 7 names. I mean, Google, which we had to get out of on that last short, is now back above the support level, higher lows. Yeah, I mean, really, if I like that for previous support and it just regained it with a higher low, this one could make some sense because now you're starting to get some juice back in this market. We're actually under 2% down on the NASDAQ. What do we think? Do we close? We're at 1.99% down on the NASDAQ, now 2 again. Do we think we actually close less than 2% to the downside after all this hoopla? I think there's a chance.
All right, yeah, always a chance, always a chance.
Well, if Apple, Google's bouncing.
I went long Apple, so we'll see. We're going to go long Apple here. We'll give it a shot. We are pretty much out of most things. Tesla will come out in a minute. We have that stop. I'm just going to refresh. We did get out. We rode that bear, which was real damn nice, on Affirm. We got covered on that. Excuse me.
Just said rode that truck.
Yeah, we should have backed up the truck on Affirm probably. But we did. We had a good amount of shares on this one. Affirm definitely made it work.
Although I do like that catalyst for them.
Yeah, that was weird. I didn't realize they were starting to lower their interest payments or their fees or whatever.
They're charging interest now, which they didn't really do before as part of their model, which, I mean, like that was one of those things. Like, well, if you're not going to charge interest, at least in some situations or more situations, as they're going to start to do, then when people don't pay, like delinquencies go up, and what's your, like there's got to be some yin and yang to that. Like credit is a good business, but at the end of the day, like if you're going to extend it, you need something for it. That's the kind of like the entire point. So I think it's not a bad headline for a firm. It just, the stock chart speaks for itself on the daily. It is one of the most consistent like downward trends that you will see in terms of just, I could show you the chart if you want on the daily. It's like the level of consistency since it turned around at the beginning of the year on a firm's daily load. There we go. Like look at this chart. From a technical point, like how great is it? There's your top, this is it losing 50, consolidation lower high to break the 50 period. Once it breaks the 50 period, consolidation under that holds the 50 period, holds the 50 period, falls into the 200 period. Like if you were swing trading this short, which I don't do that, but if you were, like that's been pretty, I'd say reasonably easy to pull off. Like that level here where it's consolidated, that's exactly $40. Like that's not that complicated. It just went to the $30 level and bounced. That's the 200 period moving average. So I think it's pretty clean. I just bought the dip in Google, but let's go to Adara at the desk.
News with regards to that speculation of a partnership with Tesla and Uber, but there's also a story here with Tesla and Pepsi. Stock not reacting too much to this, but basically Pepsi executives saying that there were initially plans to have 100 trucks, Tesla trucks on the road here, Tesla semis for chips and soda. They only ended up putting 36 of the 100 planned semis on the road for 2023, saying that the plans will shift once they have technology and needed infrastructure established there. So just a note here, keep an eye on this with regards to Pepsi and TSLA.
Okay, we already have our outs for Tesla, so if that happens, that happens. See, Apple, here we go. We're long at 164.05. 165.05. You see, I wish 164.05. Did we even get down there today? I mean, we might have, yeah, right there. All right, so here we go. I'm just going to give this 10 more cents from now. We're gonna, unfortunately, we tried a long. I thought maybe the market was thinking about it. We finally, for the first time in an hour and a bit, no, this is just a 1 minute chart, not an hour and a bit. This is just goes back to last hour, yeah. We were thinking about taking out, again, the 50 period moving average. And I mean, the last time we did it, we went for a jog. The last two times we went for a jog. This time, I guess we went a little bit, but not much. And now you're starting to head back down to the downside. So this is looking more and more like we will get stopped out of this Apple trade, which again, just goes to show you, we put on our bearish hat, we tweeted out bear stuff. We've only been talking bears. We put dancing bears, we put Pelosi, we put all this stuff on there. And then the next thing you know, the only two losers that we have of any, worth talking about is Shopify, which we had put down 70. We really like that. We got an upgrade. I feel strongly about it. It's only up flat on the day. Could have looked at that as barcoding there, but then again, like you almost think like that this would continue. This is a tough one, bouncing off now the 200 period again there, so that's not great. And then right now on Apple, so we were, we really made some damage done there on Affirm. That was really good. AMD all day, baby. That was a good short. Wish we were still in it. And then right now you're getting Nvidia to try to battle back again here. So we just bounced off the 50 period again. So there it is again, right there, 775, and then down $5 from that level. I mean, the market, the blood is in the streets. We've talked about that. So let's just see if we can withstand a little bit of a push here, and then we'll go from there. So right now, NVIDIA's doing its thing. I'm going to see if Apple can hold out hope here at the end of the day does something for us. Our Tesla out is now still here at 170.55. We could change that to 30s if you wanted to. And then IBIT, I might just get out. We only have like 10% left of this position. You can see
really not moving.
I thought if the market tanked, Bitcoin would also tank, but it's holding out pretty good.
I'd like to say that if what we saw in this market today and then losing the 65,000 level, maybe it's just about the halving, but that's really good for Bitcoin. I mean, it makes a lot of sense to me that that's really good. It's not necessarily relatively strong because, as I said, it's trending to the downside, but it's not exactly falling apart, which I think can be a good sign. But look, if you're a Bitcoin trader, you're into it, and you got to pay attention over the weekend because when the halving does happen, you're going to want to see the reaction to that and then play off of it. If there is a downside to the ETFs, that's basically it, is that you have a 24-hour market, and you can't really do anything about it. But I still think it makes it a great vehicle for buy and hold, that's what I use them for. Although I keep meaning to make a move from the Canadian one to one of the US ones. I don't know. I really don't know why I haven't yet. I should probably just pick one. But a little bit of a bounce in the market here. I did try. When I saw us bounce off support, this is a support line I drew from my 15-minute chart on Google. It does look a little bit random on my 5-minute or my 3-minute chart. But as it came back in and wicked that bottom, I went to add to it. I'm going to get some out in front of 54 because obviously 54 even has some sellers right now. And then I'll try and buy the dip. And if we end up scalping this 30-cent range for the next 15 minutes, that's not the end of the world. I think scalping longs is probably the best approach if you're taking them today, because outside of, CGC, maybe this chart's better now when I call it up, probably not. CGC is up 2%. Actually, this is barely even holding on to 8. I don't want to reload that. Alibaba's pretty strong, but there isn't much out there that's showing a lot of strength. Obviously, Pfizer, I think I showed you guys, was pretty decent. And then, American Express. Really, American Express is they're the big winner today on the long side. And whether you say it was a good quarter or not doesn't really matter. These guys definitely got bought up at the open and then just kept buying, and it was very, very steady. There was nothing parabolic about it outside of the opening print, so the opening rush, I should say, and it's just sliding higher and higher. That's always going to be a good sign, you'd think, for the economy. You're about to press 52-week highs at the close on AXP.
Honestly, the one thing I have to say about something here is, and look, we always talk about how you wind up making money is by sitting in front of your desk. So I personally have to say, there's no traders behind us now, and I don't know where everybody is right now. It's 3:20.
Josh is there.
Okay, one person is there, right? So that's what I'm
saying.
Shout
out to Josh.
The one guy that's probably going to graduate. And it's just that's the one thing that I'm going to say to everybody is that if you're going to sit here and try to do gimmick trades and try to do all that kind of stuff, it's not going to work out for you long term. You have to sit down in front of your desk and actually make trades. And I know it's a grind for some people, and it's not, I'm not trying to throw shade on people that aren't here. I don't know everybody's individual situation. But hard to call yourself a trader when the market's down 2% right now and you're not in front of your desk. So I just think that if you have the opportunity, whether or not you are playing at home, go in sim mode, whether or not you're, want to go lower shares like I'm trying to do. Look, we're finding winners. Apple's a positive stock for us today. We just put that on board right now. So yeah, that is something that for me, I would think that would be the right thing. So I just want to tell it to everybody. Thank everybody for staying here with us. Look, it's a nice day. You want to go outside and relax. That's completely fine. And I don't know what everybody's situation is.
But just to respond to Ducats, someone in the chat was no reason to be trading late, but it's not necessarily about that. You have to understand,
he said
traders on the floor, you're in a stage of learning. When I was a trainee, and I'd say the first, I don't remember how many years this was true, but it was at least a few. I remember, you wanted that screen time because even you might just see something that you hadn't seen before, or experience something that you didn't, or learn something.
Scratch life.
I remember that I'd never seen a Bitcoin level 2 we have depth of book now. So when I saw a level break, it was the first time I'd experienced it. Now I have an idea off that because I was sitting there watching that kind of a thing. I remember when I was a trainee, the full-time guys had this lunchtime poker tournament that they would play, and everyone would bugger off. And I remember I went and played as a trainee, and I got chewed the F out. And it was right, because usually the trainings would suck, but one time I actually kind of did okay, and I was gone for an hour off the desk as a trainee. And I remember getting, And I finished second that day in the tournament, but it didn't matter. I'd missed like a full hour of trading, which, usually you're eating your lunch at your desk. So, and I remember, and it was Moe. He chewed me right out for it.
I mean, shout out to, that's why I start these topics, baby. Shout out to Kyle right here, or whoever it was. Sean talking like the boss that he is. Right here, look at this. David Kyle, man, Sean, you're sounding like a trade manager, yes? Yeah, so here's real trading. I was basically the head trade manager, training everything, hiring everything for all of real trading before the show started, which is why we brought this show to you. Came over here, managed this floor, was like, whoa, we can't just have you managing one floor. Let's have you managing all of them. So I went in there, started training all those floors, and that's where it came from. So that's why, when I'm talking from the heart every single time. So that's it. And if people don't like it, and that's part of why I'm honestly still here, is because I tell people the truth. And and some people don't like it, but anyway, it is what it is. You want to be serious about something, I don't care what it is. The reason why my daughter excels at what she does is because she's at the rink 6 hours a week and absolutely loves doing it. That's what gets her to that level. So if you're going to be a trader and do anything, that's what you have to do. All right, so here comes Apple right now. All right, we're 20 cents in. We talked about averaging into this position. Let's wait to see what winds up happening with it, and then we'll go. We'll see what happens here. So Apple, nice upside move. Let's see if it takes it out right now, going back up. iBit, we're doing that. Tesla, I don't know, man. Do we even really want to give this back up? We could just take it out now, but it is starting to trend lower. You could see it's having a hard time going. We're still short on this one, so let's stay short and then see where we go from there. That's it. CompuCare, self-taught. Where did I start? Right here. I sat right down here in front of a screen and graduated in 1 month. Okay, so I was really lucky. My father's a refrigeration mechanic. I knew absolutely nothing about the stock market. I remember asking myself what the heck was a bid ask after even a couple days of trading. Like, what? Sitting on the train, like when I used to take public transportation, trying to figure out what was going on. And it took me, I was lucky enough, it only took me 1 month. Now on average, I think I don't know. Even when I was there, we hired, the graduation rate was under 10%. I think there was 20 plus people that were hired with me and only 2 ever graduated. Then I hired Neil and a bunch of other people that came in. And as you guys...
Our group it was 22, 4 grads, but the first guy was, first guy that graded was done in he graded and was done like a month later.
So as you could see, that's where you know that the hiring manager makes a difference. Because right there, my first group, there was 4 out of 20. When that's probably way higher. The average in real trading is probably. Anyways, I'm probably a lot higher than that on an average. But.
The first campus group was actually...
You're welcome, Adam.
1 in 3. 1 in 3 in the first... Oh, campus was the office that
1 in 3.
That we had opened. Although technically speaking, we had 4 guys as like a test, I think. But really that was like...
Dirty Mike.
It was Dirty Mike, and it was basically a couple of friends of... Like our first true hiring group, let's just say, was a dozen, and 4 of those graduated. 2 of which had very, very, I was like very long careers. Both of them. One of them is still in the business, but he's beyond trading, and the other guy owns his own trading floor and has done really well. But I'll tell you this: that one trader. What did you know about those 2 guys? Our campus office at the time was part-time trading. The entire model was students would come in and trade in 2-hour shifts. The 2 guys that had the best careers, when I would do it's like you guys were signing up for slots, they were both like, hey, can we do more than one? Because the idea was you only had 1 slot in a day. And I remember every single day they were like, can we get more time in front of the screen? Can we get more? It was the 2 guys that had the best career. They were both the 2 guys that were asking that question. Patrick knows one of them as well. That was your boy, Patrick. But again, it's just, you could tell, and I remember when they walked in the door, you kind of knew that was special about them. But at the same time, we got 30 minutes to go in here. As I said, we're going to still have the market recap show. Kudos to you. I know you're not feeling under the weather with the headache. That said, make sure you do hydrate. It's a really big deal when you have headaches.
Yeah.
Like 80% of it is hydration.
I also want to show some love to you guys. Let you guys do the market recap show. I know I do it every day.
I step in every time you're not here. I always have fun with it, whether we have a guest or not. I actually don't even. It's Friday, but there's no, because usually that would have been Michael Noss, and he's still
Yeah, well, we don't normally do a podcast. We don't.
Well,
normally
that's
do a
right. But it
recap.
used to be. It used to be when we did. It used to be Michael Moss. But that's fine. Brandon and I'll be able to go back and forth. Early look on the imbalances. I'll show you some individual names. I did not just get a dip buy on Google, but I'm just going to hang on till VWAP here. If it's gonna run, let's have it run into VWAP. Why not? Like, it's as reasonable a target as any, and we'll try to respect that. But very, very quiet in terms of the early look individual names on the imbalances. Not a single name on this, really standing up. But at 3:30, it'll probably populate a few new ones, and then we'll give a look. See, I'm anticipating pretty much a nothing burger. Oh, CGC starting to go. I'm just going to get this thing out.
You see, this is
Starting to creep at 810. I'm going to just get out in the offer.
Yeah, get it out, man. Put that money in your pocket. Okay, so right here, someone was just saying up here about why they love the show. Thank you, Adam DeLuz, and all of you right there. It was about that they've spent 20. Here it was right here. Cutco Kareem, what's up, Cutco Kareem? Sean, you the man. Thanks for sharing your wisdom daily. I've spent over $25,000 in trading education, and we have learned more from you than all the courses I've taken. I mean, that is the reason for the show. So I say congratulations to you as well, Kareem, and everybody out there as well. Pro Day Trader. And that's right. Intuition, you either got it or you don't. I mean, but you got to try it out to see if you got it. And I feel like we've already talked about this over and over again. Look, I mean, I can sit here and do wax again, but I just did it, so I'm going to pass on that. If you guys want to hear more about that, we're going to do something different with the podcast. One of them I want to do is where I just spitball basically like I'm doing now, whatever I want, whenever I want, with as many cool guests as possible. So I think that could be something that we wind up doing at some point as well. The smash trade of the day that we don't have is ARM. We talked about that on the sticky note today. Hit ARM through 100 and hit it with vigor and violence. And we didn't do anything. So, yeah, missed opportunity. Look, it's a huge day here, and I'm really happy with it. But that 100 break was pretty simple. Never would have gone against you. And boom goes the dynamite to the downside. But when your number one trade idea is Tesla, and it looks like this, and these are all the shorts, and it is the number one P&L around here, then we will drop down the cash and have a very, very successful day. When you short AMD a couple times and this happens and you get out right there, that's going to be hold you down for a good day. When you have a firm like this and it does this, that's going to be a good day. I'm not cherry picking. I'm going over all the symbols I have. Here's Apple. We just went. That was bad for sure. We thought when it was taking that, we'd get it. Comes back to the 200. We're finally responsible. Then we buy those dips and then it goes back up to the upside. So that's a good one. And then right here, we've talked about Shopify. And the last one on the docket here would be crypto, as IBIT starting to go this way as well. So yeah, a couple interesting names here today for me into the close. Let's see if we're able to hold tight on these. But I'm just going to stay short. And yeah, big shout out to Brendan and to Neil for holding the fort on the recap show.
We got you. Apparently, it looks like there's a bit of an issue with the feed on that early look, but I'm not really anticipating the imbalances we're going to show much anyways. And we'll be able to show you at 350. I think it's just the source that we get piped in our feed that gives us an early look on some New York symbols. Doesn't seem to be populating anything. It's not a big deal. But ARM, it's getting ugly. Jokingly, it wasn't me in the chat. Someone in the chat was like, we'll get to that 80 level today. And why has everybody been saying 80? I think it's pretty obvious. You saw what happened when it broke out that 80 level. It gets back down into here, the 70s and the 80s. This is kind of what I've been waiting for, obviously. Like I lamented, like when it got up here, I sold at half my position at 120 with the idea being that I wanted to hold the stock forever. So it's like, why would I sell it when I wasn't even all in? I had taken like a 20% initial position on the stock, so why would I sell half of it just because it happened to go up? So I'm going to be getting back into that and then building into this thing. I still think it's a good company long term. It's just like you start looking at metrics for this thing and your head starts exploding. It just made no sense at all. But limited float can do wild things. And if you've never experienced that, that's the thing. If you've never experienced watching a limited float or lower float name trade around, well then guess what? When an opportunity comes on one, you're not going to want to put the trade on. Like you just got to be real. Like watch a break. Now I've seen Marvell try to break a low at the end of the day. I don't think I've taken one of those before. I saw how it behaved. It didn't work out, but at least I know, hey, I thought it had juice to follow through, and it might have been a pretty weak name, but this is another one that you should short the pops in. I think you're a little bit better off with sometimes the NVIDIAs of the world taking breaks or the Teslas of the world taking breaks. A little safer later in the day, but you don't know till you try. and that's pretty much anything. Oh, limited float, Bryce just means when they went public, very small portion went public. It was like 10% of it. So, and on top of that, you've got, I'm pretty sure NVIDIA, Intel, and a couple of other the big boys are some of the institutional shareholders, and they're not selling their shares. Like there's a bunch of people who own shares that got released that aren't even thinking about, that aren't going to be interested in selling them. So it doesn't mean it can't go down. It just means it's tricky for it to go down because there aren't a lot of people out there that aren't to buy and hold. So it's good for them, but it doesn't mean it's valued the way. The valuation makes no sense.
All right, 250, Apple, AMD. Anything you guys want me to talk about? I mean, just watching the chat here. Again, thank you, everybody, for the kind words. It definitely means a lot to me. I just hope it's not raining because I realize I got to take the kid. The reason why I'm not doing the recap show is because I have to take the kids' place.
I don't think it's supposed to rain today.
Hopefully it's not because he's golf. So
Maybe like tomorrow it might.
He'll be peed off if he doesn't get that going through. All right, what's up, Turper? That's a good question. At what spot will we buy Tesla? So for my account right now for today, like I said, we're already in it. I mean, just this position that we're in on Tesla, even right now, is enough of a P&L to be happy with if we just only had that. But we're going to wait for it now to the downside here. So if we break back down below 146 and change, we'll do that here today. So hopefully that will come down. Like I said, we're at, I don't know if it's a good day or not for many of you guys out there, but we'll have another good day here, and I'm not going to put anything on at the end of the day that's going to try to ruin that, but I think Tesla heads lower. I think all of these stocks head lower. We've been talking about that all day. I mean, you want to look at the TQQs? I mean, here's a NASDAQ chart. We've identified many of these levels many moons ago as well, and they've all broke. They're all coming down. Like this has been boom. We've looked at 18,000, man. We looked at 17.8 there. This morning we looked at 17.4 and talked about that level. This is why I'm holding the short. You know, I'm not trying to do anything that's rocket science here or anything like that. Just trying to play the momentum, holding on to the short. We've been bearish for a minute. We're going to stay bearish. And like looking into next week, I actually hear, let's have some fun right now because, again, we won't be here. The podcast, the podcast is going to be airing tomorrow, so that should be a lot of fun. Definitely check that out. But I put out a tweet this morning, and I tagged everybody. There it is. Go find out the what. I mean, look how nice it was in the middle of the day. I think it's still probably pretty nice outside. No goose talk today. Thanks to over 2,000 people that have been watching. We talked about bearish. I mean, look at that. Feeling bearish again today. Written at 8 o'clock. Shout out to everybody else that was with me at that point. But here's next week's earnings lineup. So lots of stuff to talk. Lots of stuff to talk about right here. Maybe I can zoom in just a little bit. So Monday we've got here Verizon. Tesla coming on Tuesday. There's Visa, Pepsi, GE. So Tuesday we get going. It's going to be pretty much the Tesla story right there. Spotify, I sold that, thank God, a while ago. That was a 3 or 4, 5 banger there. GM probably going to be okay as they focus on hybrids. General Electric, I've sold that name as well. Meta, I sold some today. That goes Wednesday. IBM Wednesday. ServiceNow we like.
Lamb.
Boeing coming through. Yeah, Lamb is there as well.
Hate on them.
There's Ford to go back-to-back with GM, so next week's going to be spicy. The popular split-adjusted name, I don't know if it's going to get split-adjusted anytime soon, but we have Chipotle coming, which I think is July 1st or the 9th, whoopsies, don't want to click on that symbol. If I'm correct on that one, then Thursday, I mean, every day is going to be big, but there's Microsoft. That's going to be really interesting as that hovers around the $400 mark. Intel there, we already know what's going to happen with that. Snapchat is there as well. And then to kick it off on Friday, you go back to back with oil names. One of my favorite names that I've been in for a minute is AbbVie. That comes there as well. And then we're switching up the format, I guess, of the recap show next week, but we have I've tagged Danielle. We've got Brian Shannon coming through. Simpler Trading we have on all the time. I do not know if Michael Noss is coming back, and Trader Tammy. So a bunch of good things happening next week. Stay tuned for more of that. Tonight, the trader recap, the market recap show, and then next week as well. So lots of big earnings, man. That's what's going to be on store or on deck for next week. Big one, big one. It's like the...
It's the massive one.
Yeah, it's the massive week that we're all waiting for, but there's...
I mean, look, and it's not to say that the weeks after that aren't big as well. I mean, you didn't even say Caterpillar, which, you know, every sector is going to give you some opportunity. Like, the thing about next week is you get, like, a little bit of everything. Like, I don't care what sector you like or trade or invested in, you pretty much, something you're into is reporting next week. NVIDIA does not want to go down 10%. Now, obviously, we prefer when stocks go up because we own stocks, or unless you're shorting in the short term. But if it goes SSR, it just makes it a little bit more interesting to trade on Monday. Like I'm hoping it tags 10% down for that reason, because it just gives a little bit of extra spice to what you could see on Monday if there is any kind of retracement. I like that flexibility. But let's go on over to Brendan at the desk.
This segment brought to you by our friends at Trade Ideas, real-time scanning and alerting used on the desk by everyone you see on the show. See what's moving in the moment with Trade Ideas. Check out the link in the description. Scan the QR code on screen right now to save 20%.
I'm going to tweet something out right now. Like, I really want to get, I'm just going to show everybody, like, I really want to get out of Tesla right now because, you know, we're $3 right now in the money as this market continues to go lower and lower and lower, but we're not out of it. And I'm just going to try to hold on for as much as we possibly can, see if we do get an end of the day push lower there. I'm trying to get out of some Apple now because I think the market's going to break lower into the end of the day. So we're already 340. It's trying to go right now. Tesla, see you later, alligator. NVIDIA as well. Let's have a quick look at that one. Now it's getting nasty. We talked about that 780 break. We should have retaken that one. We did not. That's a nasty one. IBIT continues to go downside as well. And then here comes Apple.
ARM's at 87.
Yeah, I mean,
17%.
That one was not rocket science.
SMCI too. I mean, let's not leave them out. Like, imagine a day where you barely even say anything about a stock being down 23%. Like sometimes that gives you a bit of perspective. Like, the focus is on, rightfully so, on NVIDIA and ARM, but pretty nasty here for SMCI shareholders as well. Ivan saying, when do you think is a good price to buy Tesla? The thing about, I don't know, if your time horizon's long enough on things, I think sometimes you just like the dollar cost average and all that good stuff. I don't know that Tesla's that kind of a stock for myself personally. Like, I don't know what the good news will be for it. I think basically you got to understand that for all the EVs, like, the next push for growth is probably seemingly being pushed down the road. So my approach when that happened with Intel was like, okay, well, I sold a bunch of my position, and now I'll just push out when I want a dollar cost average into it. If I was going to buy it every quarter, maybe I don't buy it until next year. For Tesla, I don't see why, if you're not going to hold 150, you aren't seeing 125 and $100. Like, that's all perfectly reasonable to me. But everything's about your time horizon. I think it's a little bit easier when you have a track record, like, say, something like a Microsoft. It's a little easier to say, oh, I'm just going to start dollar cost averaging as a 200 period moving average. If I see that on Microsoft, I'm bidding in front of it. It's nowhere near there right now, but if it gets close, I log into my account and I put a bid down there and I buy it and I don't even think about it. But I don't think Tesla's that kind of a stock, at least not for me. I don't know. Like, I mean, I want to buy Tesla, but I would feel comfortable looking at a 200 and just throwing a bid on Amazon, and just throwing a bid on Meta, wherever they happen to be, throwing a bid on Microsoft. I did on Google when it was down there. I just don't know that Tesla, I put it in that category. It's trend down the entire way when the market was going up.
All right, we got out of our Apple there and a positive trade. I mean, I can't even believe that we're going to be net positive on that one, but we are there on Apple as it fell back in. You guys saw me. I literally offered 06 there. Oh, we got some 02s or 03s. We offered 06 and missed it, but some good outs there, near view up. We tried the long until it didn't work. So that is that. Tesla falling back in as well. We're going to wait on that. I'm just going to use 147 now as our out and just keep adjusting. This is just a big trade to end the day here. So we're happy with it, and why not? 147, 711 right now. NVIDIA is now SSR.
Well, now it is.
Down $87 right now. You know, I mean, this is what it's been, man. We've been having, again, like we talked about on the market recap show, day after day, guest after guest. We talked all about these moves. And there it is right now. The day is happening, and it's today, and it's Monday, and it's Tuesday as well. So get ready for next week, man. Buckle up. I did not buy more. I was getting close to not buying more. I was getting close to going in here and buying some NVIDIA. But I don't know if you guys were following me on Twitter today. I posted that I sold Meta, some of my Meta in my longer term, in my, not my long-term account, in my TFSA, raised some cash, so we sold that. That continues to go lower at low a day. We sold some Google today as well. That's basically where I sold it. That one could be a mistake, but I am well off in Google and put some money in somewhere just in case something gets worse, we can start to buy some of these dips. I'm still long. I'm still net long. Like in my long-term account, I'm probably sitting on like 10 cash, like 10% cash. You know, so something like that. But that's what that is. And this is, of course, just my own talk right here. And I am the worst investor of all time. So you don't worry about that. I'm just letting you know.
You can't be bad as long as you hold.
No, I'm bad. So yeah, but you're right. So I think holding is fine. So that would be great. I wish I had done that. But for right now, that's what we're doing. IBIT is starting to go even lower right now. So we are in that one. Good trading here. Hopefully that falls down. I mean, not hopefully. Again, we're long Bitcoin. I'm not selling like Cardano, Bitcoin. I'm not selling any of that stuff. I mean, we did sell some of it, but I'm not. That stuff we're not getting out of. All right, here we come. Let's see what happens here. Downside movement. IBIT and Tesla into the close. We're here. We're there. I know. I hired Neil. I know. But it doesn't mean I can hire everybody else. Shout out to Pro Day Trader right there. NVIDIA is SSR on Monday. So just to answer your question there, Rob EV, you have to go 2 days.
One print, all it takes is one tick underneath 10%. A single print and the stock goes 10%, and it's that day and the following session, the uptick rule is in effect. And if you think, some people are like, oh, it's frustrating when you can't hit the bid to go short. Well, 20 years ago, you couldn't do that on any NASDAQ stock. Like there was a point where the uptick rule existed for every stock on the NASDAQ. Imagine if the last print wasn't green, you can't hit the bid to go short. It made it very interesting. Sometimes when a stock was flushing, getting into position was way different than it is now. Like now, stock's going lower, just hit the bid and you're good to go, as long as you've got locates. Back then, they called them bullets.
Yes, they did.
I don't know if that was a nickname you guys used. I was like, that's a weird name. But you paid for bullets to be able to get around the uptick rule. It was like a thing that you actually paid for to be able to do. And then once you had it, then you could actually hit the bid, and it was valuable if we're trending down. So it's getting nasty, obviously. It's been nasty. Remember when I said, is there a chance that we could hold 2%? If we had put a poll up, I have no idea how it would have played out, but we didn't hold 2%. We're now down 2.5% on the NASDAQ as I'm watching ARM get to that 85. The good news, though, at least it was the right call to get out of Marvell. Like everything's cracking. Marvell is holding this $62 level. Might be something to this level. Just means it's a chance to break on Monday, I suppose. You can always look at it both ways. I think there's a chance there. Eli Lilly's apparently down. A lot of things are down today. You know, you can do that game of this is down that much. I think the more interesting thing sometimes on a day like today is to just do like a little bit of a channel check on what didn't get wrecked. Like what are the things that you might have thought would have a weekday, but kind of held up pretty well. That's why we're noting Bitcoin at 64,000 feels kind of decent, that it really didn't do much off that 65 fail. So I'd hold that up as a pretty good sign for BTC, but then you got the halving to deal with. NVIDIA. Oh my goodness.
46.50.
Let's keep looking at NVIDIA and ARM and SMCI, and it's like, you've got to be kidding me. That's absolutely nasty. When was the last time we saw something like this? I can't even think of it, where you probably had this coming and then SMCI just threw gasoline on the fire this morning. Mara went up today. Yeah, that's a good one. Nicholas Hughes. That's a great example of Mara. 9% up. Bitcoin's doing nothing. It's bouncing off support. It's got a decent short float. Everyone said the halvening was bad for them. Well, that seemingly, I would suggest, maybe they priced it in and you're getting a little bit of a bounce, back above the 200-period moving average. You come in on Monday, and if you didn't notice that, like if you didn't scan a bunch of stocks, then you might miss that on Monday, and then you have an opportunity at a bounce play. At least in your back pocket, you can have it.
Yeah, we indicated that Mara trade has a great opportunity down there at 14.50. I hope some of you took that about on Monday or Tuesday. Great opportunity there to get that money back in. Today we also had some nice positive. Man, I am exhausted, boy. What a busy week, man. Podcasts, all of this going back and forth here. Lack of sleep. Officially proud to announce that, of course, yesterday after going back-to-back tryouts, she is now a Rep A player for her 3rd year ever playing hockey. So I think I'm pretty proud of her. I couldn't be more happy with that one. I got to get my other guy on the PGA Golf Tour, apparently. We're going there tonight. That should be a lot of fun. I'm so happy that my kid golfs now. Like, that's going to be such an amazing opportunity to, like, bond with him and everything. So I'm really happy to be able to take him there. Although, you're going to get, I think it's going to be, I mean, Neil and Brendan will do a bang-up job on the market recap show, but I did misplan that. Plus, I didn't realize we had a recap show today. So we'll be doing that. So we'll see you guys on Monday again. All right, so I'm just going to wait out here for TSLA. There's really not much happening. We have these imbalances coming out right now. You guys know where my stop orders are. I'm not worried about imbalances for Bitcoin because, you know, that's not going to matter. Well, there'll be exact balances for IBIT.
Actually, that's true. But
okay,
they're always
and then
small.
we'll just go here and sort by the size because here it comes out right now. All right, Enbridge. What's up, Enbridge? I pay my bill, pay my bill. Enbridge every day seems to be on there. Lyft on there as well. We'll get that number soon to see what we come out as. But it looks like the market is flat-ish.
Not moving
on that. So
don't see anything.
Pfizer a buy. Yeah, that's about it.
Lyft moved for a 1.7 buy. Lyft didn't even move more. It moved 2 cents off the bottom. So if you want to talk about, yeah, the buy imbalance that is what 20% of the day's volume can't even get this thing off the low. They're another one that got. I mean, they're just going to follow Uber. Uber had a bad day as well. It'd be nicer if that one could hold up, but that's another stock. Uber's just another stock which is losing major support. But we talked about what are names that you like on a dip that are probably, hey, if it gets down there, I'm just going to pick them up. Uber would fall into that category at a 200-period moving average. And again, when I say Uber would fall into that category, does not mean I'm assuming it's going to get there next week or anything. But look at the 200-period on the daily. Pull out your weekly charts too. Like you find some levels on those that are fantastic. But the $58, $55 to $58 level looks pretty solid on Uber. But as it's going down, I know a trend reversal, like you don't have to be an expert to see a trend reversal like that. And when you see that, you got to favor, usually you favor the short when you see something like that happen on your charts. So Lyft, Uber, obviously I like Uber, not really a fan of Lyft at all. Did ARM have an imbalance or something? I didn't see it.
I didn't notice.
But that is the healthiest candle ARM has had all day. I know it's not that much, but I mean, ARM hasn't done that at any point today. I didn't see ARM on the imbalance, but it did spike.
Same, I didn't.
I mean, Apple's 1.2 to sell. That's the only thing over $1 million that matters. Sun runs up as $1 million imbalance. Lyft, I guess, but it didn't move. Yeah, I don't see anything on ARM, but it did make a decent bounce. I could sort it by A, but really.
Let me check on Shopify here quickly. So Shopify does bounce upside. Yeah, you can see.
Oh, you can know. You go to Sean. I'm just scanning for the heck of it. It probably didn't have one.
Yeah, maybe not. Shopify there. Okay, there's Tesla. So we take that out. It is, to end that trade, a $2.84 winner. So we'll go bang on what was, and again, highlighted here for you. Tweeted out this morning, trade idea, and I even mentioned it. This is my trade idea #1, and it was Tesla. It was a short, and it's PL1, and it's not even close. So just to tell you alone here, and we're not going to give away P&Ls or anything like that, but the amount of money that we made on Tesla is more than any other net. So that's like, we're really happy with that one. Tesla goes all the way to the downside, and we often talk about that. When you have a feel for something, hit it and do well on it, and we did that. And we also did it for AMD. AMD, a huge move to the downside. Wish we had it all day. We did give that up. NVIDIA as well. The strength in this name was not apparent today at all. So we're going to have to wait to see what winds up happening here right now for NVIDIA. But it's trying to bounce off that 750. That could be a level that we come into play with tomorrow. So 750, be very, very careful there. NVIDIA is a beast. I feel like we don't trade it that much, but when we do, we do it pretty well. So NVIDIA.
Well, I don't mind not trading today because I felt it's the top of my list for 2 days in a row has been ARM.
Right,
Like, I knew,
same
like,
as mine.
I knew ARM. Like the thing about ARM is when it falls, there's actually the reason you like it more is there's fundamental reasons why it just fall further than the others. Like that's to me the thing. It's like when it starts falling, I can't imagine who should want to be on this bid until $80. But by the way, there actually was an imbalance on ARM of 300,000.
Oh, okay.
So I know 300,000 is not a lot compared to 26 million shares that it's done. But when you talk about an imbalance, you can't only focus on the amount of volume it's done. You should also look at the liquidity available on the stock. So when you see what the liquidity looks like on ARM when you trade it, you understand like this thing doesn't do. Like you don't see prints of thousands of shares on ARM. I know it's done millions, but that's a decent imbalance. And I've never even seen this thing have an imbalance of more than 100,000. So it was abnormal. Probably some shorts covering, I would assume. And they're like, oh, buy imbalances, just get out or throw it into the auction kind of thing. Because if you were in this sucker, it didn't give you a lot of reasons to get out, which is why I always say you can do better. And one of the first things we went over is I don't mind getting out of trades. It's when you don't get back in. Like I shorted it 5 times today, but it's the one that this one that you don't take, that one that you don't take. I don't know about that, but definitely here, like that's a short that I know I can have because it shows me the level, and that's a setup that I'm gonna like. It gives you a bit of a barcode. It fails underneath. It then breaks down and gives you a reasonable risk to reward trade, which is in my wheelhouse. But I didn't take it. 355. Well, that's right. I'm going to go set up at the desk. I actually haven't logged in there in a while. I'll probably just use your layout, which should be absolutely easy, I would assume. Get the trade ideas up, and we're going to have the rundown show like normal. But look, it's been a wild week. Don't forget, you're going to have multiple big names that are going to be SSR on Monday morning. I think that could make I'd expect there to be some ridiculous candles at 9:30 on all 3 of those names. I'm talking about SMCI, ARM, and NVIDIA, the 3 ones that are 10% down. I would not be surprised if the first move isn't a really, really big candle to the upside or some kind of like false break and then a reversal. But if the trend continues short, you might have to be really, really careful about it on Monday morning. But hopefully it doesn't rain for you for golf.
Yeah, no.
I think that's pretty cool, man. Because I know you have a passion for golf yourself, so getting you to be able to do it with
I got to golf more often, man. I think I golfed like 3 or 4 times last year.
Well, the boys went. I don't know.
Get out of here, go set it up.
The boys, Patrick and the guys went.
Yeah, but remember, I have the market recap.
I know, but I don't know what time they tee off. I have no idea. I'm not a golfer. I don't know.
Yeah, it's okay. Like we said, we'll be changing all of that. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna be going golfing. Hopefully a lot more this year. Brendan and I talked about that. Hopefully we'll be able to get out there and go. My guy BPI back here, we're gonna hit the link a couple times as well. So we're really excited to do all that. As it goes, I mean, right now today, even in Toronto, actually it's nice out. It's 15 degrees. That's nice, and of course that is Celsius, not Fahrenheit. Often we talk about that, and then people are like, "What the hell is this maniac talking about? 15 degrees? He ain't going golfing in there." But here, that's not bad. 15 degrees Celsius, something in and around 58, 60, something like that. All right. We're out of everything. We can just sort of recap it all right now. I mean, there's the out of Tesla. It broke lower. We had that. That was a pretty good one. The imbalancers are flipping around a little bit here as we go. It was 1.5 billion to sell. Visa, everything coming in. TJX, JP Morgan, Intel with a sell here as well. Energy names. Whoops, that's WTRG. Where's Whoa. Where's XOM? I gotcha. There's XOM today. Oops, that's not XOM. That's WTRG. XOM today still up 1.16%. So we can have a quick look at USO just to see what United States Oil Fund wound up doing today. It was pretty funny early. Like, I don't know what's up with this, but we talked about this when I walked in. Or when I woke up, I think oil was up 3 or 4%, something like that. And then it just came cranking back in there thankfully, we haven't heard anything yet worse about any of the conflict. But at some point, oil, and especially around here, we just saw the price of gas go way up because of summer fuel mix. So apparently it's a little more expensive on the refining side. So that's what we're waiting for right now. But with only 2 minutes left, let's have a check on the biggest and the baddest today, of course, as we'll sit here and look at what's not a friend of mine today because we are in NVIDIA in our long-term portfolio, but nicely done, down 10%. So congratulations to those of you that were bearish today. We'll end the day near the high for the day for us. We did give some shares back, or we did give it up a little bit in Apple, although not much happened. We were still positive on the stock, so there's that. IBIT, we will wind up down on this stock today. Trading crypto, it was this play right here. I don't know why I got so excited and thought that it was going to hold this level, but it didn't. So that trade kind of sucked. That's 30s. That's an average of 40. That's a 50. And that's an out at 50. So about a 20-cent loss or so there on IBIT. We didn't have enough confidence to put enough shares back into it, but we did make some money back on this short, then on this short again. So that turned out to be okay. The other name was Shopify, a nice little bid opportunity there. I want to buy some Shopify on Monday if it's exact weaker again. Tesla, we did get out. Let's see where that is. Netflix, just to wrap up what was a very interesting day in the markets, needless to say, as Netflix, watch your head there, Adara. Netflix down 9. I'm not sure if this one went SSR. It probably did. Oh, SSR right here. No. Okay, so it did not. All right, that's strange. Down to 552 at one point or the other. It's been probably 8 months since I've hit this button, but we are going to have the countdown up right now in just a matter of time. In only 10 seconds left, the countdown will begin, and we have Adara on the bell. Looking pretty red there, Adara, but pretty purple with you. Purple's kind of like a neutral color, so that's pretty good. 2 and 1. I guess purple leans more red than green, I guess, right? So nailed it today. Does it, Adara? I don't know. Oh, half red. Okay. I think you're being nice there. Purple is a combination of blue and red. See, that's where, like, when I say stuff like that, my kids are like, wow, yeah, man, this, but, like, you guys know that I should have known that. All right, so this is part of it. All right, I'm really pleased to be able to do this with you guys every single day. But I'm also pleased as punch to send it over, wrap my weekend up on a Friday, finally at 4 p.m., and go over to the 2 hardest working guys in the business. It's Neil and Brendan. Kill them with kindness.
Are we going to be kind about the market? Thanks, Sean. Enjoy it for sure, brother. And like I said, I hope it doesn't rain so you get to have a good round in there with Baron. That's pretty cool, man. Just before we get into it, I just want to say, like, obviously I've known Sean for a while. Like, Baron, I remember Baron when he was a little kid. Like, the idea of him holding a golf club, it's like, I don't need reminders that I'm old, but when I see, like, Gia playing hockey and I see Baron holding a golf club, it's like, and I see Baxter in university starting his own company. Oh, for the love of God, I'm old. But
time is accelerating as we go by.
But Brendan, days like today, before we get into this, we talked about traders and the floor and experiencing the markets. Days like today, if you get to witness a 10% down day on NVIDIA, a 22% down day on SMCI, 18 or whatever it was on ARM, we'll get into some other names individually, you get the equivalent of a week's worth of market experience watching the tape and watching level 2 and watching reads. You get like a week's worth of it in a single session.
It's different.
And sometimes even just one afternoon. So like days like today are special for traders. And I remember like you want to be glued to your seats. But we got a lot.
But like those are the days that typically something different ends up happening over the next coming days and weeks. So whether that was the turn or not at the top of the overall market will remains to be seen. We'll show you the weekly charts here coming up, but here's just a sector overview for everyone to wrap up the day. Like I said, we came on at 2 o'clock here this afternoon. I mean, without the banks today, this is a lot worse for the overall market. I mean, a lot of strength in the banking group at the end of the session. I mean, even retail names outside of Amazon, obviously. Some of the discretionary names positive on the day. But without this, like this move is a lot worse today in the market.
Well, this is what we sort of talk about when it comes to diversification and what that actually means and where you might hide or why, as you guys mentioned on the podcast, on an early dip buy that you might consider the Dow just a little bit better than an early dip buy in the Qs or the SPY, because there's a lot of things at least contained in the Dow that are going to be a little bit more defensive, right? So, it's interesting to see like Lilly was down, but like healthcare, some of the healthcare names did pretty well today, actually catching some bids in there. And you have to remember, it seems like forever ago but the banks just reported. Like, we just got all of them reporting to start earnings season, and their numbers were strong. So it's easy to forget this.
Context.
Last
Context
week,
is key.
and then early this week, the banks all reported strong. JP Morgan even gave you, and JP Morgan even pulled back.
Yep.
So on strong earnings, JP pulled back. So when everyone exits tech, where is money going to go? Oh, so you're going to tell me that we're rolling over in the chip names, and JP Morgan just pulled back 10% after a good quarter? You hit a couple of buttons, and money goes in one hand, and then, out one hand and then into the other.
Across the aisle on your screen. We're going to have Adara jump on here with us in a couple of minutes, but I want to recap the overall markets real quick. Ramin, I did set up the topics if you want to push that button. That's an ugly chart. That's the SPY. There goes 500 on the SPY, and then some down to 495 is where we end the day. That's a weekly chart, remember, so pretty ugly few candles accelerating to the downside. Let's do 3 Qs, not 2. There's the NASDAQ, the Qs, big ugly red candle, 420 comes and goes on the way back down. This is key, as we were saying, heavy volume even into the close there to the downside for the NASDAQ. So do we get some continuation coming up next week? Remains to be seen. Heavy volume here on the DIA, the Diamonds ETF for the Dow. Also to the downside. So that's kind of the lay of the land as far as what happened today. And then the overall week, 3 weeks in a row, red here, it's getting ugly.
Oh, it's definitely getting ugly. But as we said, like, there are those kernels of strength. Like, you showed a weekly chart there on the SPY. Well, I'll counter with a weekly on XLF. We talked about the financials being pretty good. And then if we could pull up the chart here, on bad earnings, right, at the end of the day, good earnings, I should say, you did have a pullback, and today it found a bid. And what I love, I always love to see this happen, technically speaking, when you find support where you want it, right? So 40 was a pretty big level when it broke out. And actually, I don't know if it was the last time I did the market recap show, but it was certainly around this time. Mike and Loss and I were both talking about this breakout XLF, when it had a 38 break with a 37, which was previous resistance, and the move was to 40. Well, the dip on earnings was to 40 just now. And there's a name that you saw in there on the when you had the entire market board up that was strong, and it was Berkshire Hathaway. And remember, Apple's been getting crushed, and Berkshire was still having a strong day today.
Yeah.
So, you always look for those kernel strength. I don't know if we're at dip buy spots yet technically on the SPY and the Qs, but you did hit one on the XLF, and then it did what you'd expect, which is make a bit of a bounce.
I want to get your thoughts on that coming up here. Sean and I were talking about this on the podcast going back a couple of weeks ago, but the way you approach what is to come, not only into the remainder of this year, but maybe even next, I think is going to be key. So let's touch on that before we head out for the weekend. But I just saw somebody posted this candle, this is a weekly chart again, of NVIDIA, is, what was it, 213 billion in market cap. Comes out of NVIDIA today, so that's not nothing. But as promised, you have the buttons over there, I think. Let's go to, I guess we just did the Bears win thing. Let's go to Miss Adara, there you go, was live for the first time this week.
Hi, guys.
And I have to, hey, Adara, I have to give her props right out of the gate here because there's a very common occurrence that happens when somebody goes from TMS to live around here, and that is they throw everything they've done up until that point out the window, and they start doing just random nonsense because they get very, very nervous about being live. And I'm sure you can attest
Why are
to
you sugarcoating it? I mentioned this to you, Adara, one of the mornings we were in early together.
Yeah.
I think it was the first day you went live. I said you have a small shutdown when you start. I was shut down 7 days in a row.
Exactly. No, but my point was
not down.
She showed no signs of nerves, no signs of any kind of difference whatsoever. So congratulations, week number 1. Tell us how it went.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you guys for that. I think one thing, too, to keep in mind is I was in the sim for like 6 months, so I did have a little bit longer.
That's actually not long.
Really?
Just FYI.
Okay, I feel better about that now. Okay, that's good to know. But yeah, I think that the biggest thing for me that I noticed is I think just sticking with what works the best, right? So I think for me, knowing that I consider myself to be a range trader and a scalper, when I just kind of tried to stick with that was when I was the most comfortable. And then when I was trying to hold on to stuff for longer, that's where it got a little bit more, when it went more awry. And then I was kind of learn from that and try to tamp down those instincts. But I think the hardest thing is just trying not to trade the P&L, because it's hard when it's real. You kind of want to trade based on P&L a little bit more. But I'm just trying to, I guess, stick to what worked in the sim.
What I would say is I have one suggestion, only because a lot of trainees used to do this, and I know I did it myself, and maybe it's why I got shut down 7 days in a row when I first started out, because I did want to, and the simulator wasn't that good back then. So like the fills weren't as realistic, so there wasn't as much value in being in the sim for a long time. I think I was in the sim for 2 days in retrospect. So my first 7 shutdowns were like within my first 10 days of trading. That said, if you don't have your net up, I find that can be good, because what you want to do, I've seen you with a lot of really good ideas, and I'll look over and I'll say, that's a really, really good entry. And then maybe you'll scalp it out or you'll take it out, but it's like, that was like, I think you had an A+ there, but maybe if you're trading the net, you don't hold it as much. And I think a lot of us do this. We talked about FOMO today. But kudos to you for sticking to your guns. My one question to you would be, what's your biggest takeaway from this week? Whether it's something that worked, maybe it's a trade that didn't work, or something you didn't do enough of, or something you want to do more of. Like, what is your biggest learning point this week?
That's a really good question. I think one of them, in terms of trades to just talk about, I think NVDL, so I was using that to trade NVIDIA. I think to me, I had this one level today that I was looking at. I think it was like maybe the equivalent of 807 or the 805 area on NVDA, but I know it was 3240 on NVDL. I had it lined up. I was taking shorts off this level. And the one time I took my eye off it, that was when it had that big break, and that's when NVIDIA broke below 800, right? So I think as someone who, I like to look at my little micro ranges and trade off of specific levels, if I want to do that, I have to keep my eye on those levels, right? So instead I was trying to scalp an IBIT short that just wasn't really as well conceived. So I think my biggest takeaway with using the example of that trade is, if I like a level, if I consider myself to be a trader taking off of this level, I need to be keeping my eyes on that, because when you take your eyes off it, that's when it's going to hit.
Was there one thing maybe that you weren't expecting, between being in TMS or being in a simulator versus being live, that kind of caught you off guard?
Yeah, I think one thing is, this is a really good question. I think maybe the biggest difference is the type of stocks I was trading, because I usually traded a lot more of the Meg 7s, but I think maybe the difference was that I actually felt like I don't know how to put this. I think I did better in the live, and I think it was because I was taking it more seriously. Not that I wasn't taking the sim seriously, but I think because I knew I had less buying power and I knew I had a shutdown, I think I was a lot more diligent in my trades. And so I think that was why I actually think I had a better week this week in terms of just P&L and losses on the live than I have had in the sim in a really long time. So I think, oddly enough, I think it went, I'm trying to find a way to word this, but I think the biggest difference was just that I feel like, because I think I was really worried about it going badly, I think I tried to use that to have it go okay. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but I think maybe that's where I'm like talking in circles over here.
100%. No, okay. Perfect.
I got to point out one thing. As you mentioned on NVDL, that one particular level, I always say this takeaway is important when you're going over your trades. Whether you were there or not sitting down, in Adara's defense, because she won't defend herself on this, you're very, very busy during the day. Most traders, they're going to be sitting at their desk the entire day, and they might not miss that level. You're doing a lot of things for us, and I think it's not an excuse, it's just the absolute truth. But you did identify literally there's a lot of good short entry levels, but it is literally the best short entry in terms of risk to reward and acceleration through that price. So whenever that happens, traders have a tendency to love to evaluate based on their P&L. And then if you had a good idea and you missed it for whatever reason, well, you don't have a P&L to reflect it. So you've got to make a note. When you journal, you're like, I had the right level. Okay, well, how would I have managed it when I got into it? It probably went faster than you would have expected. So when you're evaluating, just do not forget some of the things that, maybe you missed a trade. If you keystroke error a trade and get out too early, still try to grade how you would have done on it, because all these mental reps, man, it's just, you can't get enough of them. And I love how passionate you are about the markets. And you're in here early, Brendan. Adara is the first person. I remember it used to be we used to be the first people in the door. Adara is the first person in this office on a daily basis.
We know you're on a bit of a time crunch, so we'll let you get going. But congratulations, first week live in the books. Get set, because next week is going to be wild, so strap in. But congratulations. Have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday.
Awesome.
Thank you, you guys, too.
All right. There's so much in the way of earnings we can touch on. Netflix, maybe, to start things off. But there's so much in the way of earnings to come next week. We want to give you a little bit of a tee up as to what to expect, because it's right out of the gate Monday and then Tuesday. I mean, Tesla. I got to be honest, I'm really scared about Tesla. It's going into the weekend here. It's not good. This is Netflix. If you missed it, first off, just to kick it off here, after the close yesterday, the initial reaction is higher. This was a trade way up here at 641. We come all the way back down and then some on the forecast, and they specifically alluded to their concerns about the consumer and spending, and whether or not they can keep up this rate at which they are currently getting subscribers. And if you missed it again, it was the biggest net sub add number for Netflix since 2020 in a quarter. Yeah. That's huge, but today obviously pretty red.
Well, I mean, they're basically telling you that sub growth is going to head the other direction.
Yeah.
It's going to stop.
Yeah.
Like it's all well and good to say we're a more mature company. We want to be based on the other metrics and the more important metrics for mature companies, profits, all that other good stuff. You guys know what it is. However, the timing in which you do it is usually going to be something that's beneficial. Like you don't just decide to do that at any old moment. You're going to do it when you think it's the right time, when you've peaked on that number, and now it's not going to matter as much, or you don't want to have to show it. The good news for them is that the ad-supported tier has had good, like the advertising revenue has a lot of room to grow. They got a lot of availability and chances to grow there. It's in the early stages. So long term, it's probably fine. But let's be real for a second. You look at a weekly chart of this, and you show me any growth company that has a chart looking like this for a couple of years, right? That goes into a big seed change like that, and that isn't going to pull back. And when you look back at this, 420, 430, 440, like that would be with the weekly trend if we were to pull back in. You could point out the 470 to 500 level is more reasonable, but if it went deeper than that on a weekly chart, that's the kind of thing that doesn't even scare long-term investors. They're profitable when everybody else in the space isn't. I think we're past the point that Netflix is going to drop from $630 to $200 and get cut by 60 to 70%. You just had to be perfect. You got a kink in the armor. I think long term it looks like it's going to be fine. Personally, as a shareholder, when that weekly 200 period moving average comes in, I'm a buyer on the weekly. Whether it gets down there rapidly or slowly, it doesn't really matter to me. I think it's going to be fine when it comes to that the advertising tier, because the advertising dollars always go somewhere.
Yeah.
And linear TV's dead, and Netflix is figuring it out.
It's one of those things as well where there's so many options now. They have to make it good to compete. I was just double checking on there. Yeah, it's still trading 50 times, and that will be updated as of close. So their PE right now 50 for Netflix, which is obviously well off where
Still needs to come back.
Where it's been in the past as well. I mentioned this before, but I want to touch on. The simple sense of, I made the decision going back to, I think it was a week ago or 2 weeks ago, and I mentioned this on the podcast. Given the conditions that we're in, given the uncertainty surrounding interest rates, given the uncertainty surrounding inflation going forward, the election in the U.S. coming up, yada, 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 global, macroeconomic concerns, I'm no longer going to buy stocks this year that are going down. And I even put it this way, and shout out to Michael Noss, I want to see happy faces on charts before I start, putting my money back to work. I'm no longer going to sit and try to stand in front of things that are just going down until there's a little more clarity and certainty in the way the world is. So Sharif and I were having a conversation about Tesla today because, I mean, Tesla's Tuesday, we have to remember.
Oh, goodness.
And that's going to be a little bit of a heart attack. I wanted to mention this real quick, and let's go through these real quick because there's so many of them. Here's Spotify. We'll get that Tuesday before the open. Here's another one, obviously, big, ugly red candle to the downside. So SPOT coming up. Again, Tuesday before the open. There's GM before the open. There's UPS before the open. There's GE before the open. Guys, next week is the week. But yeah, let's stop at Tesla and just think about this for a second because there it is down there, the 23rd after the close.
So personally, like I have my approach of my personal account is I have things in buckets. The overall market, I have a core position in the overall market. When I have money that goes in, a portion of that goes into, and it's been the Qs lately, but it was the SPY before, and recently, actually, some of it went into the Dow. But it buys the index, and I don't care. I don't try to time it or anything like that. I'm just once a month I'm buying it.
Same.
You leave it in there. And then I have a bucket of these are the stocks that are like the core holdings of the quality that I like, right? Like my, that'll be like my Microsofts, my Googles, and my Apples, and my Caterpillar, my Procter, and there's those. Then there's the ones that I think are like more like long-term bet kind of things, where I'm not putting a huge amount of money into it, but I like the upside of it.
Sure.
Intel was in that bucket. So I would argue that up until some point, I don't remember exactly when this was true of EVs, but at some point near the end of last year, Tesla for me became the other thing. Like it's not like one of those, I still own a bunch of shares of it and I'm not really selling anything because I already did some selling. So I'm like, okay, fine, I already did the selling I was gonna do. But it's the kind of stock where, like, as you said, the overall trend, like you can pull back, but the overall trend on most of the things that we own and feel secure about, they're really good on a weekly chart.
Yeah.
Tesla's is not.
It's not.
Tesla's is not on a weekly
It's
chart.
broken.
That is a broken chart.
Yeah.
And I've said this about Alibaba.
Yeah.
I am done with putting Alibaba in some kind of a value category as well. It is now a shot play. Then until it shows me strength, I'm not putting another dime in it.
Yeah.
And I put Tesla into that category. Now, obviously, when you say things like this, if they have a good quarter, shocks everybody with maybe margins improving, which would be probably surprising to everybody, good margin number and not a lot of disappointment that makes it look good, and it still tanks on that, maybe it gets to a level where I'm like, I just like the fundamental numbers enough, and it's down at like $120. It's not impossible, but it would take a lot for me not to wait for some kind of a...
It's amazing that we're even having this conversation about 130, 125, 120 on Tesla.
What were their margins, 8% last time?
No, but it started the year at like $100 higher than where we are now. So yeah, Tuesday, guys, strap in because we're getting Tesla earnings. So what do the deliveries be like? What is the forecast on deliveries? Because that's what everyone's talking about right now, is that demand has shifted.
Yes.
I read another note today about Toyota putting even more resources to work on the hybrid side because that initial first adopter crowd has already moved to EV land, and now it's the people that are still on the fence and waiting that they have to convince to come over to
If you live in a southern
EV
state,
land.
and like, not that I do, but I've spent time in Texas. I have family in Florida. I go to Florida every single year. My father and brother lived in Florida for a few years. If I'm anywhere near a place where there's realistic possibility that like you got to evacuate and power goes out and stuff, I would have a hybrid. I'm not getting a fully electric vehicle. And I know there's a lot of, and the people that are passionate about it, as you said, they've already done it.
Yeah.
And everybody else, it's like they're waiting. Now they're really waiting. They're waiting for solid state batteries. They're waiting for the prices to get reasonable. They're waiting for just energy security. All these different things is what they're waiting for. And the earliest example of that, I think, was when Ford and GM have started diverging from each other a bit. And I think not just that, but I mean Toyota as well.
Yeah.
And you start to see like the names that had the legacy in there and were still putting up numbers with their legacy started to do a little bit better. So I think the hybrids are going to be good for a while. Not that I'm...
I agree. I agree.
I don't know. Are you getting a hybrid?
I might. I don't know. We'll see.
I think I'm basically going to go... I'm going to stay with my burners until I go fully electric. I don't know if I'll ever play the middle, to be honest with you.
All right. I mean, the list is very, very long. There's this one. This is Boeing. That's going to be notable. Wednesday before the open, this thing's absolutely destroyed this year, and rightfully so on doors and whatnot. falling off of airplanes, as has been much discussed. Let's just go right to Meta, because that's going to be so key. Wednesday after the close, we get Meta. We are down here after market right now, so we're already, I mean, testing some of these gap levels on Meta.
Yeah, but you know what? Like, if you start looking, when you start covering these groups, the reason why Meta gets into the category that they do is because they print money, you know, and it's, and when you, then you start to think about the fact that, okay, well, with Meta, are you really as worried about geopolitical in China? But not as much. I mean, I start to think of what are the things that I put it in the category of if I see it back at $400, there's just going to be a bid there.
Yeah.
You know, if I on the weekly chart, if I see the 50, there's going to be a bid there because Meta's into that bucket for me. But
the only concern right now, I think, is valuations, because the inflation and interest rate argument has been, you know, blasted into 2025 at this point, it would appear. So that's the only thing.
But you can't wait till they start cutting. And the other thing is, when we start talking about geopolitical, and I understand, like, not to get into any of the actual issues that are going on, but historically speaking, big cap, quality tech with good cash flow is usually defensive when we have geopolitical issues.
Sure.
So typically speaking, when it's not just oil and defense names, the money usually goes into things like Meta, and I mean, and Apple would be in that category typically, but then they have consumer in China. Meta gets in there. So like, I don't think that's really changed. I think the difference why that's not happening now is just how ridiculous the runs have been. I mean, Meta at the beginning of 2023, the beginning of last year, was a $150 stock.
Crazy.
Right? And it's now $500.
It's crazy.
So like, don't be shocked if advertising numbers aren't what you think or what we're expecting, if Meta sees a 450 on it. Like, just don't be surprised at that. But at the same time, there'll be zero panic in me. I'll just be seeing some opportunities to get some money to work.
All right, Thursday then, the big day. I mean, wow, Microsoft, Google, Intel, Snap, Roku. I mean, Western Digital's been on a tear as well. But the big one is going to be Thursday again. All of big tech essentially coming. Apple, we have to wait for another week. That's the one-off. But I mean, Google, much discussed, has had a great year as well. Microsoft basically sitting right now at this 400 level going into next week when we get earnings. So, so much to come. I don't want to stay here too long because it's Friday and everybody has things to do and places to go. And Ramin's had a long day, so we want to get her into the weekend. But PCE we get on Friday. That's going to be so key for the overall market. And this inflation story, I was saying to Sharif this morning, you know, if we get an uptick on PCE after back-to-back inflation readings that have also been, you know, moving higher, I think this conversation of the next move is up, not down, really starts to take hold.
I think that's, like, at this point, there's enough people that are conceding you might not actually get a cut this year that you're 100% right.
Yeah.
Like, that would be the thing that would actually move us and have us caring about what's next for the Fed, would be something that scares them enough that they would need to raise.
And that's just not coming.
I'm still of the mind that I don't see anything that's that bad that they would raise. I can see them keeping rates where they are. I would be shocked if they actually
If we see a 4 handle on CPI.
It's an election year, though. And I know they're not supposed to be political about it, but it's an election year.
But their mandate is inflation.
I know that's true, but I don't trust
employment.
any of that stuff, man. It's an
I'm
election year. Are they going to raise rates?
My simple point is, where's the line?
Yeah, that's a good point.
At some point, he has to say, this is going too far, and we have to step in and do something. So.
And I like you, Jerome. I'm just saying. I don't think he has the stones to raise rates in an election.
We shall see. Happy Friday, all. Hey, we didn't push the week ahead, whatever. We talked about the week ahead in...
Well, that's my bad.
Throughout the entire show. Have a wonderful weekend, all. Join us next week. It's going to be, again, the biggest of the big earnings week. We get GDP, a preliminary look. We get PCE, as we said, ahead of the Fed. So happy weekend.
Cheers.